Welcome, one and all, to Pacific414 Pop Talk. I'm your host, Mike, and tonight we have quite a few items to discuss. We have the unfortunate passing of legendary director and producer Ivan Reitman. There's talks of a new Wonder Twins movie being developed. There's also some articles in relation to Peacemaker. We also have the news of Viacom CBS rebranding itself. And also with Viacom CBS, we have a little bit of Star Trek news. But first, before we get underway with our first article, please help me welcome my co host this evening, Common Sense America, the Smoking Patriot.
What's
Well,
happening, brother? How you doing?
doing good, doing good. Hope you are.
Ah, I'm doing good. Just chilling outside, enjoying some nice, cool, rainy weather.
Oh, I hear you. We've had that the last few days, and tomorrow it's supposed to be in the 60s.
There you
After being
go.
in the 30s and 40s the last few days. So I'll take it. So, like I said to you in the DM I sent you, there's a lot to cover on this edition of Pop Talk.
Mm-hmm.
A lot to cover. And first order of business is to talk about Paramount. Well, Viacom and CBS rebranding themselves into Paramount. What do you think about that news, my friend?
To be honest, I couldn't care. Just from the aspect of everything that they've done to Star Trek over the past, well, pretty much since canceling Enterprise while it was really getting its legs. Ever since then, I haven't really cared. Like everyone thought, oh, the Viacom CBS merger, oh, that's going to be big for Trek. We're finally going to get good Trek. Yeah, no, we haven't gotten anything. We have literally not gotten anything good since that merger, which everyone hailed as this is this is the end of the Moonves era. This is like everyone says with Kathleen Kennedy kind of thing. Oh, this is whatever. But great, they're merging.
Hmm.
I mean, it's not going to change Trek any.
No, unfortunately, it's not. And this article comes from Variety. It was posted yesterday. It's by Cynthia Littleton. It says, Goodbye, Viacom and CBS. Viacom CBS changes corporate name to Paramount. Viacom CBS will change its corporate name to Paramount as of February 16th, meaning today, calling the move an effort to adopt an iconic global name to reflect the conglomerate's increasingly worldwide focus. The company shares will trade on the NASDAQ index under the ticker symbol PARA for Class B common shares and PARA with two A's for Class A common and PARA P for Class A preferred. The moniker makeover was announced Tuesday by Viacom CBS chair Sherry Redstone and President CEO Bob Bakish. In a memo to staffers, the news came the same day that Viacom CBS hosted a nearly 3 hour investor presentation to tout its global streaming strategy and plans for expanding the Paramount Plus streaming service and other businesses in the US and abroad. CBS is a foundational name in broadcasting. The Columbia Broadcasting System launched dates back to 1927 and the early years of commercial radio. The I name will endure on the broadcast network and other existing assets. As Paramount, our name will reflect who we are, what we aspire to be, and all that we stand for. It will help advance our strategy, harnessing all our strength and breadth in building the business of tomorrow. And it will capture the collective power of our global assets from our amazing brands CBS, Showtime, MTV, Comedy Central, BET, Nickelodeon, Smithsonian, Paramount Pictures, Paramount Plus, Pluto TV, and more to our global reach and our diverse audience, all of which adds up to Paramount being the preeminent home to and producers of the world's greatest content. Redstone and Backish wrote. The name change was first announced Tuesday during the presentation at Redstone, and Backish made a theatrical entrance in a sports car to a soundstage at New York's Kaufman Astoria Studios, which Redstone noted was the original New York home of Paramount Pictures. The pair also disclosed that Paramount has upgrade its financial guidance for Wall Street, projecting that the company will reach 100 million streaming households worldwide by 2024. That compares to guidance last year from Viacom CBS that it was aiming for 65 million to 75 million by 2024. Throughout the presentation, executives voiced bullish projections for new streaming services and content production operations that amount to a reinvention of Viacom CBS. Redstone, daughter of the late Viacom and CBS mogul Summer Redstone, said her focus for the family media empire was to drive a virtuous cycle in which our legacy business powers our transformation, and the transformation expands and enhances our legacy businesses. Speaking to Variety after the investor event, Backus said the name change was in part an effort to set a new tone for the company. Viacom CBS screams that we're two companies. We're not. We're one company. Backus said the other economic rationale is that any dollar spent on Viacom CBS branding has no consumer benefit. As we talk about Paramount, the consumer benefit occurs back to Paramount Plus and Paramount Pictures. And I'm not going to read the full memo, but they basically go on and talk about what properties they own and what broadcasting channels they own. And I am tired of seeing the same but each and every time. And it's not just in my streams, it's in other streams. So
You gotta love
YouTube,
those bots.
do something about these bots. I know myself and others are tired of seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you make about this announcement, Patriot?
Honestly, again, I personally don't care for CBS or Viacom aside from Star Trek because they're the holders of the Star Trek license. So, if they do something, okay, great. You're talking on a corporate level, but unfortunately, as a nerd and a sci-fi fan, you have allowed a franchise to be bastardized and destroyed. So I don't care how many mergers you go through, until Kurtzman is canned, all his Trek is tossed out the window, and you bring in some really hardcore Trek fans in there to actually give us good stuff. You can do all the mergers you want, all the renamings you want, how much profit, blah, 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 all that stuff. It doesn't matter to me. Like, that, to kind of give a little context, if Disney said something, well, we're getting rid of Star Wars. It's costing us too much money and everything, so we're putting Star Wars up for grabs. Okay, great. That we still have all this terrible Star Wars content still. So, to me, this news does nothing for me. Again, because this is just a corporate thing. It does not, in terms of the properties, it does not affect the properties. Because everyone thought Sherry Redstone would get in there and get rid of Kurtzman and fix Trek and get good people in it. Literally, this is what some people on YouTube were saying. That never materialized. Never did.
No, what they ended up doing was giving Kurtzman that $150 million contract.
Mm-hmm.
And then, he's announcing one new series after another. And, Even though he keeps saying that Section 31 is going to be in production, I don't see it happening.
Yep, I don't either.
Not that I
I don't
want it to
either.
happen after what we've received with Picard and Discovery.
Well, I mean, honestly, at this point, I feel like people who follow Trek, they're just trying to look for any optimism wherever they can find it, even if it's false optimism, you know? Because,
Hmm.
I mean, I give the guys over at Trek Yards kudos for actually going through like every episode of Prodigy and Discovery. I give them props because I know they did not like Picard. I know that I remember them seeing that they've criticized a lot of this new Trek, but they're true blue. They still cover Trek. God bless them. There's no way I could do that. There is no way on this earth I could do that. Just keep covering all this new Trek stuff. I couldn't, and I won't. But I give the guys over at Trek Yards massive props. My hat's off to you.
Hmm.
So, you
I,
know.
I have nothing against them. I mean, it's their channel, it's their choice to cover all things Trek, and that's what they do. I especially love when they go into detail about the different ships that we've seen. And they actually have a
Mm-hmm.
Doug Drexler or an Andrew Probert on their show to discuss what the design process for the ships were, what the reasoning for
Yep.
positioning the warp nacelle pylons where they are. You know, the way Andrew Probert feels about his Enterprise C versus what we actually ended up getting in yesterday's Enterprise.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
I appreciate that stuff.
No, I do. I mean, and again, I don't always agree with them, but I don't always agree 100% with any YouTuber, even if whether we are of the same ideology in terms of with pop culture,
Mhm.
sci-fi, politics. I never 100% agree with anybody. I never do because there's always going to be some differing opinion that we have, and that's fine. I'm fine not 100% agreeing with anybody. So
Well, if we all agreed all the time, life would be pretty boring, in my opinion.
agreed.
I mean, I invite people on here to give that other point of view. This way, the
Mm-hmm.
viewer doesn't have to just hear my point of view on things. They can get other perspective on things, and maybe hearing your perspective or anyone else who wants to come on, you know, it'll make me look at it in a different light.
Right. Right. No, I mean that's what I've always tipped my hat off to you on that. You've always been open to having people who you disagree with come on, whether it be in chat or actually on here, and have discussion with them so long as it's cordial and it's not in a confrontational manner. You've always thrown that invitation out there to people. So,
Yep.
you know.
Because I will say this: if it gets confrontational, I'll mute the person. I'll give them three strikes, but once they reach that third strike, they're out.
Mhm.
Because we don't need that. Nobody wants to, you know, tune into a YouTube channel and hear people arguing back and forth where you can't make heads or tail what anybody's trying to say.
Right, yeah. No, that's a very fair point. A very
And
fair point, my friend.
I enjoy having you on when you're able to come on. I enjoy having Chaos on when he's able to come on. I enjoy having Baron Ormontag on. Anybody who's come on in the past to this channel, I enjoy having them on. And yes, would I like to get other people on? Of course. That's why I'm always willing to put the invite link into the chat, even though I've had people say you shouldn't do that. You need to be careful. Well, trust me, the moment somebody in here, gets disrespectful after they've clicked the link, if they say something where I go, forget the three strikes, you're booted right now.
Mhm.
Because I'm going to tell you this. I'm not going to put up with it, and I don't expect any of my guests to put up with it. I don't expect anybody in the chat to put up with it.
Yeah, I mean, because and that's the thing is that when you go on someone else's, because I've had this on streams in the past on my channel personally, where I had somebody who was just confrontational, and I just I like I had to mute them, and then they
Hmm.
just abruptly left, and I'm just like, and this is somebody who I personally knew and who I used to be friends with, uh, and but I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to take it, you know? Like it's okay to have disagreement and sure, voices might get raised once in a while. I mean, that happens when you're in a passionate discussion at times, but you know, having again a civil discourse, I don't mind if voices get a little passionate and raised once in a while if it's still but if the discourse is still civil. The moment it goes from civility to just outright being a nasty ass, that's where I draw the line.
Well, it's like I'm part of Tuesday Night Trek, and the one rule on Tuesday Night Trek is no cursing. Well, I abide by that rule
Right.
because it's not my channel. It's the Star Wars guys' channel. So I abide by their rules.
Yeah, and that's very good of you that you do that. You know, you show them the respect that that is deserved to them because that's their channel. You are a guest, and you are willing to be. You know what? You know, it's your house, your rules,
Mhm.
and that's very respectful of you. You know, kudos to you because not everyone is always respectful in someone else's house. Sometimes.
No, it'd be like if you invited me to your house and I were to walk into your house, start looking around and say, you need to change this, you need to change that. That's not my place. It's not my house to dictate what needs to be changed, what doesn't need to be changed.
Hmm.
That's just how I look at it.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, of course. I mean, of course, you might have some really good points. Like, you may be like, dude, I think you need to do this, this, and this. I'd be like, well, hot damn, you might have a point there, because I have no eye for design.
well, I don't say I do either. Now, if you were to, look at me and say, Mike, I want your opinion on something, then I'll give
Yeah.
you my opinion because you gave me the opening. But I'm not going to go on someone's channel or go into someone's house and go, you know, that wallpaper, it just doesn't work. You're going to
Yeah.
be looking at me like, I don't care what you think, Mike. I like that wallpaper.
Although, if I put wallpaper up, it better be lickable wallpaper. I'm just gonna say that. Other than that, no, no wallpaper.
I see what you did there. A Willy Wonka reference.
I come on, I had to, man. I had to.
Yes.
The door was open.
Yes, it was. I left it wide open. So, did you hear about the news yesterday? And excuse me, as I get rid of yet another Russian bot. Oh, I am so tired of these Russian bots. YouTube, do something about it. Jeez.
Well, that would require YouTube actually having to do work, though.
Yeah, that would require them to have an actual human being watching. But anyways, yesterday it was announced that there's going to be a fourth Star Trek movie with Chris Pine and crew. Okay, I know. We've heard this one before. I know. I,
Oh.
I'm just waiting for somebody to go, Mike. Is this an old story? I mean, there was that one time on Pop Talk where I thought I had a current story, and then it was
I
from
remember,
2017.
and we looked at it. Well, I think it was the no, because the article was posted recently,
Hmm.
but they kept talking about Pirates of the Caribbean. It was either the fourth or the fifth movie, and I'm like, wait a second, Mike, there hasn't been a Pirates of the Caribbean movie in like 7, 8 years, and you're like, wait, are you sure? So I look it up, and All the details were from like 8 years ago, and they were
Hmm.
posting it as this is like a recent article.
And and that ticked me off. That really did.
I remember that one. That was a funny pop talk.
Yeah, yeah, it was. But anyways, Paramount, while they were announcing their name change from Viacom CBS to Paramount, also announced that there's going to be a new Star Trek movie with Chris Pine and crew, and it's supposed to come out on December 22nd of next year. Yeah, that's something nobody asked for. At least I wasn't asking for it. Maybe you were, Patriot, and you just didn't want to tell me because you knew I'd turn into a Klingon.
No, actually, I mean, initially after the third one, and there was because the so the entire crew, the cast and crew of all the actors, they signed for a 3 movie deal.
Mhm.
But there was talk that they wanted to do a fourth one and bring in Liam Hemsworth again. And basically, the idea was, now this wasn't the plot. This was just kind of like the idea. The idea of the movie would basically be like Kirk would have to somehow go back in time and stop the events of his father dying to essentially correct the timeline. Because
Mhm.
remember, the events of in the '09 movie led to a fracturing of the timeline, so we get the three JJ movies.
Yeah.
Um, that was the talk, the idea of if they could get all the cast on and they could do a fourth. That was the idea. But remember, that was back around the time when the third movie came out. So this is a
Hmm.
long time ago, at least what, a decade, I think,
It,
somewhere around there.
it was 2016 that Star Trek Beyond came out, so it's almost been a decade. 4 more years to reach the decade
Yeah,
mark. But
yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, the problem is you announce a film. If you're gonna announce a film, you should announce it and give like a 1 paragraph synopsis, especially with something that's been hyped as long as this one has.
Hmm. Yeah. The question is, you have a chance to recast Chekhov, but Anton Yelchin actually did a good job as Chekhov for what he was given.
Hmm.
So this article
Yeah.
says Paramount is getting the Enterprise game back together. Well, when I think Enterprise, I'm thinking, oh, the Enterprise game. I could be thinking Star Trek Enterprise, but I'm not. It says, no, not the 1960s series turned film series cast, but rather the cast of the J.J. Abrams relaunch that debuted in 2009 and went on to star in 2 subsequent movies. Paramount executive Brian Robbins and producer Abrams made the announcement at Paramount's investor event Tuesday, although details were not revealed. No deals are in place, but Paramount hopes that returning cast members will include Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Simon Pegg, Carl Urban, Zoe Zendaya, and John Cho. So again, they're announcing a movie, but nothing's set in stone. Nothing's,
Hmm.
been signed. The ink, you know, don't even have to worry about the ink being dried because nothing's ever been signed for that ink to come out of the pen.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was just and I'm just basing this off that first paragraph. It was just a move to get the investors hype and, bring up their stock price. But I will continue the article. It says the announcement signals a breakthrough to relaunch Trek on the big screen. The studio has been trying to regroup the cast since at least in 2018, when negotiations with Pine and Chris Hemsworth, who had a small role in Abrams' 2009 film, fell through. Since then, it has tried to redevelop the project, with creatives such as Quentin Tarantino, Noah Hawley taking stabs at films that did not move forward. Pine also played Captain Kirk in Star Trek Into Darkness and Star Trek Beyond, the last big screen outing. WandaVision director Matt Shackman is directing the next Star Trek movie, with Josh Friedman and Cameron Squires rewriting a script from Lindsay Beer and Geneva Robertson Duarte. In recent years, Trek primarily has lived on the small screen with numerous streaming shows on Paramount Plus, including Star Trek Discovery and Picard. Executives at Paramount's Investor Day noted that the company was focused on creating franchises that live both on Paramount Plus streaming series and on the big screen, with other projects announced, including a third Sonic the Hedgehog movie, as well as a live action spin-off starring Idris Elba's Knuckles. Filmmaker John Krasinski also revealed his A Quiet Place Part 3 will arrive in 2025. The new film is due in theaters December 22nd, 2023. And early logo below, well, it looks like the same logo they've been using for the Star Trek movies, because it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, really nothing going on there with that announcement. It's just an announcement to make an announcement for their investors, in my opinion.
Yeah, although again, I don't expect anything to actually develop. I
Well,
don't.
neither do I.
Because the thing is that I guarantee you the very first thing that they're gonna say is, uh, wait, what do we do about Chekhov?
Oh, we kill them
You got to
off.
recast, but okay, you kill him off, then you would have to set the movie at least 2 to 3 years, the setting of the movie 2 to 3 years after the end of Beyond on the Enterprise A,
Hmm.
which means you would have to have a story of Chekhov. You'd have to talk about how Chekhov died, and it can't be a throwaway thing. You got to make it heartfelt, because remember, Chekhov is a beloved OG character. So when they
Hmm.
recast him, that name still carries weight to Trek fans still, especially since Walter Koenig is still alive.
Exactly.
So if you kill him off and you don't do it right, I guarantee you're going to hear something from Walter Koenig.
Oh yeah, he's not going to shy away. That's his character, regardless of who
Mm-hmm.
plays the character afterwards. As long as he's still drawing breath, that's his character.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you heard about the Futurama revival that's coming onto Hulu, right?
Yeah, I heard about it. I heard that the guy the voice actor for Bender, they still haven't signed him, but they've re-signed all the other cast, like
Hmm.
the original people, but they haven't signed back the person for Bender, and a lot of people aren't happy about it.
Oh, I'm one of them. I can't imagine hearing Bender with somebody else doing the voice. And I'm sorry, I've watched enough, animated series, live action series where somebody comes in to replace a voice, and you can tell the difference. I'll give you a perfect example. Anytime Rob Paulson didn't voice Raphael in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles during the '87 series, you could tell a
Mm-hmm.
difference, a big difference.
Yeah, well,
So,
it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like that with a lot of classic roles. Like, you know, uh, uh, imagine having the original voice actor for Zordon in Power Rangers, and then imagine that that's why Bryan Cranston. It was such a big deal when he was cast as the role of Zordon in the Power Rangers movie that came out in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was like, "You got some big shoes to fill." Especially all the Mighty Morphin fans. They were all like, "You got some big shoes to fill," because
Oh
that's
yeah.
a iconic voice. You better not f up Zordon.
Yeah, and he
So,
didn't. I watched that movie. I didn't think it was too bad.
as somebody who's very familiar with Power Rangers, it could have been a lot better, but that might be for a whole nother stream because that's a long rant.
Oh, you can rant about it here if you want. You know my rule.
So, so, so the okay, so I'm gonna go back into regular Mighty Morphin Power Rangers lore. So if you ever watched it, they introduced Tommy, and then Rita creates the Green Ranger coin, but the coin is basically powered off of evil. It's powered off of bad, and
Hmm.
that's why Tommy turns because he has the Sword of Darkness, and then he has the Green Ranger coin, which was originally created with evil, not with good, like the other power coins were that the five Rangers used. So so the coin never just automatically existed. It never did. And Goldar was one of Rita's henchmen, but Rita was never a Power Ranger. She was an evil sorceress. So in the movie, basically Rita is the Green Ranger because you see a scene in the movie where she's the Green Ranger. So that implies the Green Ranger power coin always just existed. And
Hmm.
then she wasn't an evil sorcerer. She was basically kind of like an evil ranger. So that was a big turn. Also, the way that they show the made the iconic thing about Power Rangers is you can do it dark because I've seen fan projects that do it dark and they do it well. Power Rangers. This made it too real, and I didn't like that. They didn't have that little bit of childish kind of fantasy in it. They made it
Hmm.
way too real, like Kimberly basically like sending like naughty pics or something like that, and like slut shaming basically, and the one guy having autism and whatnot and trying to find out why his dad died and avenging his dad kind of, it was just like they made it too real, I feel
Hmm.
like, um and then the action scenes weren't bad. The area I feel like they messed up big time though is like the iconic. I mean, you've seen all the gifs and everything when they morph because they always scream it's morphin time, and then they pull out their
Yeah.
morphers and they scream out their own Zord.
Yeah. Triceratops,
Tyrannosaurus, yeah,
pterodactyl.
Triceratops, yeah, all of those. They didn't do that. They all stand around this kind of glowing orb, and then they all stand on these pedestals because they have to activate the morphing grid, and then that's their first morphing sequence. So when Tommy he gets up there and he's just kind of just says in this little stern tone, "It's morphin time," and I'm just like, you really just missed an amazing moment that you could have had right there. Like you
Hmm.
really blew an amazing opportunity for. So that whole thing was terrible. And then when they do the Megazord, they make it seem like the Megazord, when it actually happens, all the Zords fuse together, they make it seem like it was just an abrupt accident. Like, oh my gosh, that had never happened before. When if you watch the original Power Rangers, Zordon says, "Hey, your Zords can combine into one mighty Zord called a Megazord."
Yeah.
And it was just like it felt like they were trying to make it too real and try and distance it somewhat from the other Ranger stuff. And it's like, no, if you're going to do a Power Rangers movie, embrace Power Rangers because
Hmm.
I have two Power Ranger morphers. I own two. I own the Time Force morpher and the Mighty Morphin morpher. Like I freaking love Power Rangers to this day.
I
And
I gotta admit to you, brother. I was in high school by the time it came out, but it was a guilty pleasure to watch.
I still watch it to this day. I'm not gonna lie, I still watch it to this day. It's just one of those things that just always stuck with me. Um,
Hmm.
and that's just the thing about the movie is that it just didn't. It felt like it felt like they tried to make a Power Rangers movie, but make it too realistic.
Yeah.
Which I get that you try and do, but Power Rangers has never ever been based in realism.
No, it's always
It
been
never has.
based in science fiction fantasy.
Exactly. Yeah. Now some of the seasons, like if you go to Overdrive, all the vehicles they use are based off of literal real vehicles, cranes, helicopters, bulldozers, stuff like that. Even in Lightspeed Rescue, the same thing. All their vehicles initially are based off of real vehicles, modern day vehicles. They just kind of Power Rangers them up into Zords kind of thing. So they've always
Mhm.
done that and whatnot, but there was still always that sense of like fantasy, uh, fantasy or sci-fi, depending on which series you were talking about. Because you had like Mystic Force is obviously magic, but then you get like SPD, which is literally, that's tech, that's sci-fi version. So
Mhm.
it's the movie had great potential, but I feel like they really dropped the ball in certain big areas that we
Yeah.
just never, as Power Rangers fans, got that. Holy crap, we never got that Luke Skywalker moment in The Mandalorian. Because
No.
imagine them all there standing before Rita and she's laughing and they all just stand there and they'll just kind of look over at each other and then all of a sudden they scream, "It's morphin' time!" And then all of a sudden they morph and Rita's like, what's going on? Like, you guys are the new Rangers? This is who I'm up
Mhm.
against? Kind of almost like take them as a joke at
Yeah.
first. Like, they missed on some great opportunities, and that bugged me really. So
Well, like I said, I used to watch the original Power Rangers in high school. Then occasionally I would just tune in just to see what they're up to now. And,
yeah,
it was Power Rangers Galaxy. And you could tell that they were inspired by Star Wars and Star Trek in that particular one.
hmm
But I will admit, when the original Mighty Morphin came out, I said this not knowing that, you know, the source of Power Rangers came out before Voltron. I said, "Oh, that's nothing but a Voltron ripoff." But like I said, I didn't know.
yeah. Power Rangers before it came in the states, it was big in like the '90s. That was when Power Rangers really became big in the states, but it was actually had been going on since like, I want to say like the mid '80s over in Japan. It took like about a
Hmm.
decade or close to a decade for it to actually reach the states and start to become popular.
Yeah, I mean,
And it
it's
was a
a.
big deal. Like
I was going to say it's
like
a big deal because you had, you know, Haim Saban and Chucky Levy looking for a property, and they found that property. Much like Hasbro went over to Japan, and they found what Takara was doing with their Micromasters and other transforming car toy line that eventually became Transformers. So just
mhm.
like now, where we're relying on Japan for good entertainment, even 30, 40 years ago, we looked to Japan for new ideas.
No, I agree. I mean, it's just funny. I go back to the Future Part 3 when Doc he's like, it's amazing that this little piece of junk could cause such a big problem. And then he turns it over. No wonder why it's a piece of junk. It says it's made in Japan. And then Marty just glances over at him. He says, "What are you talking about, Doc? All the best stuff comes out of Japan." It's just,
Hmm.
and I'm like, yeah, probably going back to the '70s, early '80s. Amazing stuff has been coming out of Japan that we either have Americanized or just straight like just did like direct audio translations of. And here, I mean, like I don't know if you know this. I found this out a few years ago actually. Did you know that up until I forget it was a while, but the first I want to say like 10 seasons of Power Rangers, when they would show the all the fight scenes as them as in their suits and the ranger suits, did you know that that was actually from Japan? And they would
I
just
had heard,
voice over do voiceovers on them.
I had heard a few things that they shot new footage over in Japan, and they also had shipped the suits and anything else that Saban needed over to the States so they can use those costumes and whatever to film scenes here in the States.
Yeah, yeah, but like some of the fight scenes you see, like when
Mhm.
they're in as Rangers, that's actually Japanese footage, and all they did is just the American actors did like the voiceovers for the Rangers, so that way that's how to hear the Rangers talking. That was just the voiceover. Some of those scenes were actually from um, the Sentai, the Japanese Power Rangers.
It's very interesting, you know, what they had to do to get those episodes to work in the States as compared to what they originally were when the show aired in its original form in Japan. At least I think it does.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it was actually. I remember there. You can. I know it exists out there. You can. I don't know if it's a. You could probably find it on YouTube, but there was actual because in the '90s they were worried about like violence in cartoons and whatnot. By the way, that's why SWAT Cats got canceled because it was considered too violent. Um, uh, uh, okay, DJ Ronnie G. Okay, you know what? Hang on one second. I'm gonna find this YouTube link. And I'm gonna post it in the chat. So one of the fan projects that I follow is called Power Rangers Unworthy, and they actually did their own opening theme in a style very reminiscent of the original. I got. Let me see if I let me find it. I know I saved it. Find it. Da, 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 da. I know I saved it. Share, copy link. No, I still need YouTube open. Original. I got. Find it. No, I saved it. Okay, y'all. If you like the original Mighty Morphin theme, check that out. That link I posted in the chat there. Go check it out. It is incredible.
I'm gonna go ahead and click on the link and I'll listen to it after the stream.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd say I don't know if they would copyright strike you on it. Like, I mean, I'd say because it's the opening for their series, the Unworthy series, which I highly recommend you all, if you're Power Rangers fans, go check them out because it is such an amazing fan series. It really is. And I follow multiple Power Ranger fan series, and um, Mike, you might have seen this. Ever heard of Superpower Beatdown?
Yeah, I have heard about that.
Okay, so two different times, Jason David Frank, who played Tommy, he reprised each role he did. He did the White Ranger and the Green Ranger. Although the first time it's the White Ranger versus Scorpion and they're battling. Well, at the end of it, he takes off the helmet and it's Jason David Frank. The second time it's Ryu versus Tommy as the Green Ranger. So Tommy like teleports in and he starts fighting Ryu and then he morphs and then he fights him as the Green Ranger. They Bat in the Sun did they did a fan project, a Power Rangers fan project, all original idea called Legend of the White Dragon. Johnny Young Bosch, who was Adam the Black Ranger, and he was also in Zeo and Turbo, he's in it. Jason Fount,
And,
who was the
and he's also
time,
a voice actor now too.
yeah, he is a voice actor too. Yeah, Jason Fount, who played the Time Force Red Ranger, he's in it. Sierra, I can't remember her name. She was the yellow Mega Force and Yellow Super Mega Force Yellow Ranger. She's in it. It's got actors in there who I guarantee you'd recognize. I don't know I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but you would recognize them. This is an
Mhm.
entire fan project that they're doing for, I want to say it's like $750,000, maybe $1 million tops, but they're giving like everything they have into making this fan Power Rangers movie with actual actors who played Power Rangers in this role.
Yeah,
And
because is
yeah,
that the same one that you sent to Chaos and
yeah, the
myself?
trailer, yeah, yeah, that was the trailer.
I thought it looked very good.
Yeah, considering you're operating on a shoestring budget, because remember, that's I want to say it's like I want to say it's like 500,000 or $750,000 at most. Remember, that is all the VFX. That's paying for shoots. That is all your licenses, your taxes, all this stuff. So that's not just so you have $750,000 to create an epic Power Rangers esque movie. So some people could say, well, that looks too fan made. Yeah, it literally is fan made, but they're operating on a tiny, tiny budget, but trying to make the most that they can with that budget. I mean, I give a lot of props to fan projects that look even halfway decent, and even if they
Mhm.
don't look decent, it's because I love um, the what do you call it, the brand so much that I don't care if it's crappy quality just because they keep that lore and spirit going.
Well, it's like Star Wars Theory, the videos that he's done for his
Hmm.
episodes. Those are absolutely wonderful to look at.
Oh yeah, I've watched some of his. He's got some great videos. I don't always agree with him because I feel like he tries to look at the cup half full kind of mentality, which is not a bad mentality. Just with Star Wars, I don't see a way that you could say it's cup half full, but I don't always agree with him, but I give him mad respect for trying to keep a positive mindset, because I know it's hard. I know it's hard for him at times, but he keeps the fight up, and you know, my hat's off to you, Star Wars Theory. My hat's off to you, brother.
So, this article here from Vanity Fair says Futurama revival set at Hulu without Bender actor John DiMaggio. DiMaggio, who voiced the hard partying robot, will not be returning for the revival. It's about self respect. And this is actually the second story I've heard about voice actors not being respected. The first one was actually Peter Cullen. And for anyone who's going, well, who's that? You would know the voice if you ever watched a certain series. Autobots, transform and roll out. Well, I watched a video of Peter Cullen, and he was giving an interview, and he was talking about when he was voicing Prime for the Bumblebee movie. And he was saying that when he went in there, instead of doing it fresh, they had already had somebody else stand in and do all the voice lines for Optimus Prime. And what stunk for him is that instead of being able to do his Optimus Prime, he had to match up what had already been done because that part had already been CGI'd. And, it comes to find out that voice actor John Bailey was the first person to actually record the lines. And nothing against John Bailey, but he's no Peter Cullen when it comes to doing the voice of Optimus Prime. I'm not saying anybody has to be Peter Cullen when they do their version of Optimus Prime, but even Peter Cullen in the interview says, this person, they didn't do a bad job. They just, had the timing all wrong when Optimus is saying certain things and how Optimus would, emote in his voice. And that's coming from the original voice actor.
Yeah.
But anyways, in this article, it says it looks like, and just like that, won't be the only revival force to forge ahead without its original cast. Per deadline, actor John DiMaggio, who voiced the irreverent, hard partying robot Bender and various other characters on the animated series Futurama, will not be lending his talents to Hulu's recently announced Futurama revival. Bender is part of my soul, and nothing about this is supposed to be disrespectful to the fans or my Futurama family, wrote DiMaggio. In a statement posted on Twitter, it was about self respect. And honestly, being tired of an industry that's become far too corporate and takes advantage of artists' time and talent. DiMaggio reportedly bowed out of the series after a series of contract negotiations, which he felt were unsatisfactory given the success and name recognition of the original series. Just to be clear, I don't think that only I deserve to be paid more. I think the entire cast does, DiMaggio wrote. Negotiations are a natural part of working in show business. Everyone has a different strategy and different boundaries. Their price. Some accept offers, some hold their ground. After some back and forth, Futurama stars Billy West and Katie Seagal reportedly agreed to a deal similar to the one that was offered to DiMaggio. So, yeah, I realize that you know companies aren't always willing to pay the price for an actor to come back and reprise their role, whether it's for voice acting or for a live action series. But sometimes that particular actor is the only one recognized for that role, and you want to see that actor reprise that role or hear that actor reprise their role in this case. At least I do. What do you have to say about it, Patriot? He might have had to step away, but I'll get his thoughts on it when he comes back. So I am going to go ahead and move on to the next story.
Sorry about that. Had to ask my dad a quick question.
Okay. So, what do you think about John DiMaggio not coming back to Futurama?
Well, it's not going to be Futurama, flat out. I mean, Bender was a huge part of that show. He's probably many people's favorite character. You know, um, I mean, if he were coming back, I'd be really enticed to want to watch it. But
Hmm.
if Bender's not going to be in it, or if Bender is going to be in it, but it's going to be a different voice actor, I got no, I got no personal desire then because it's not the original person. Like we
Mm.
talked about with Optimus or with Zordon and Power Rangers. There are some roles that are just iconic voice wise. Bender's one of them, and either you have Bender in it with the original voice actor, or you don't.
Hmm.
There's no there's no option C in my book.
Well, because Disney owns 20th Century Studios and Hulu, they dropped the ball. And this isn't the first time
Mm-hmm.
they've dropped the ball. I've said my grievances about the book of Boba Fett. They dropped the ball with the final episode of season one, in my opinion. If you disagree, you disagree. That's fine. But I felt that they really dropped the ball in the season finale, along with the entire series as a whole. And they're doing so again. And he's right about the disrespect that the voice actors especially face. You have so many talented voice actors, but if there's an animated movie coming out, they usually pass over these experienced voice actors to go for big Hollywood name, just to have that big
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood name attached to the film. It's happened numerous times.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. If you're not bringing in the original voice actor, don't even do the show. It's
Mhm.
like it's like if you it's like if you tried to do another Star Trek: The Next Generation movie, but you didn't bring in if well, yeah, if you changed up an actor or something.
I'm sorry for laughing,
So,
but I'm reading Spock's.
hello Romulans. You know, Spock, I got some mighty fine Romulan ale here. Vintage year, by the way. You're more than welcome to join me. Don't mind the
Uh,
Klingons though; they're still reveling from the Dominion War, even though it's many years later. They're still reveling. Apparently, the Klingons don't fight anymore; they just drink a lot. So yeah.
that is not the life of a warrior. The life of a warrior is consumed by battle. By the way, Spock, I'm auditioning for my Klingon character in the next episodic series. It is a grave dishonor to have a Klingon just sit there and drink all day. That is not the path of a true warrior. And Spock says, best to be logical, and another stinking butt. That it makes the third one tonight. These bots are without honor. They will die in Grethor. And DJ Ronnie G says, hello, original Romulans. And Spock says, it's a fake. Uh,
It's a trap.
in the pale moonlight. I could go on for hours about that episode. But I won't. I won't. I won't. But yeah, well, here's another series I talked about an article when it was first announced that there was going to be a reboot, but this story comes from Cosmic Book News, and it says Quantum Leap reboot woke, no white males, uses non-binary character. So in other words, you have a checklist and you're just making sure you check each box. Okay, all right. That's my opinion, no one else's. And
Mm,
look, sounds like you want to say something. The floor is yours.
no, I mean, here's the thing. I never saw Quantum Leap, so I don't. I don't know anything about it. The only thing I've gathered is basically they would travel back into the past to do stuff, and then but they wouldn't kind of like physically travel. They would kind of like take over the consciousness of of an individual or something. I could be way off, so I could be butchering what it was about. So, but just wokeness again infecting classics.
Yep. And the original series with Dean Stockwell and Scott Bakula, it's priceless. It's a classic. But this article says while it seems as if the Quantum Leap reboot has been in good hands, a recent casting call suggests otherwise, as no white male characters are present and there is a non binary character listed in addition to other questionable elements about the show. According to that hashtag show, who claims to have a rundown of the descriptions of the Quantum Leap reboot characters, the cast consists of a Middle Eastern and North African or Asian Pacific American main character, a female who serves as the project lead, another female who serves as head of security, a non binary male, chief architect, a black man who heads the time travel project, another mysterious female character, And the first sleep apparently deals with a woman who is divorcing her husband. Below, you can check out character descriptions. The Hall THS has full info. So these are the character descriptions, and it says Dr. Ben Prasad, basically the replacement for Dr. Sam Beckett, who played by Scott Bakula. Worth a mention is that Bakula is not presently involved, described as a world renowned physicist and a man of faith, Muslim, who is transported back into the late 80s and struck with a bout of amnesia, forgetting what made him time travel in the first place. The casting for the character is looking for a man in his mid 30s to early 40s of Mid Eastern, North African, or Asian Pacific American descent. Character of Addison, fearless ex military operative who now serves as project lead at Quantum Leap headquarters. The casting is looking for an open ethnicity woman in her 30s. Jen, head of security at Quantum Leap HQ. Ian Wright, or Ian Wright, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Quantum Leap's non binary chief architect of the OWL program, who prefers the company of computers to that of other people. The open ethnicity casting calls for a person in their 20s and encourages non binary actors to submit. Herbert Magic Williams, a Vietnam vet and current head of the time travel project at Quantum Leap. The casting calls for a black man in his 60s. The new Al? Question mark. And it says there's additional characters. Janice, a mysterious woman who was working with Ben in the present before his leap through time, whose true motives remain unknown. The role is described as a recurring guest spot, casting a white woman in her 40s. Naomi, this sounds like a description the first sleep in the pilot episode, a wife attempting to ask her husband for a divorce. Unfortunately, she doesn't realize Ben currently occupies her husband's body. The open ethnicity casting calls for a woman in her late 30s. The site also offers the following description and says filming starts in Vancouver in March. And it goes on to say it's been 30 years since Dr. Sam Beckett stepped into the Quantum Leap accelerator and vanished. Now, a new team has been assembled to restart the project in hopes of understanding the mysteries behind the machine and the man who created it. Embracing the iconic series' signature blend of humor, heart, and history, this reboot expands upon the Quantum Leap universe, taking us on a thrilling journey across space and time, exploring the timeless notion of what it's like to walk in another person's shoes and enduring value of changing lives for the better, which the original show did. But I I don't have any good outlook for this new reboot. Not based on what we've gotten before from Hollywood in the last
Mm-hmm.
6 years. I just don't.
Yeah, I mean when you take a classic series, and again, I've never seen Quantum Leap. I could probably find it. I might think it might be cheesy to me. It might not. I might love it. I got no clue, but it'd be good to probably watch a few episodes just so I get a an idea of the premise and whatnot. Um, just but when how many of those roles did they say they wanted a non-binary person? It was at least two, right? It was like two or three, probably, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah.
they're mainly casting white women but no white men because the current theme in Hollywood or narrative is white men bad.
Oh, I know. I'm not going to rant because that will take us into political territory, and I I tell you every single time I will
I
never
know, I
go
know.
into political stuff on your. So I'm gonna bite my tongue. I might have to sew it back on, but I'm gonna bite my tongue because just the white man bad. Just yeah. Anyways.
All I'm gonna say is there's good and bad people. It doesn't matter what their skin color is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There. There's basically kind of just what he said. There's good and bad out there, and you choose what kind of person you want to be, and you know um, and your actions will be the thing that define you,
Hmm.
not a uh, not a skin color, not a gender preference. Uh, it's your actions as a human being that will define you,
Yep.
and that's a without getting too super politicized or anything. That's basically the summary. Like, I don't care who you. I've told Chaos. I've told Pacific. I've told many people this who actually listen to me. I don't care what skin tone you have, or what religion you are. If you're not a jerk, and you want to have just talk about anything, whether we agree or not, as long as we're willing to have civil conversation, I will gladly smoke a cigar, break bread, have good food, have good drink, and just have conversation. We might not
Hmm.
agree 100%, but I'm willing to give everybody a good chance of just getting to know them. you know I don't care who you are, what your color, creed, ethnicity, religion, I will break bread and have good smoke and drink with you.
And
That's just who I am as a person.
and that's the thing. There was a time where you could disagree with your friends, your neighbors, and the weekend comes in. What are you doing? You're at a barbecue and you're sharing a drink together, having food together.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, there are times when Yankees fans and Red Sox fans, we can actually break bread and have some good laughs and everything, and not want to take baseball bats to each other. Those times do exist. I've hung out with Yankee fans. They were good
Oh,
people
I've
until
talked to
baseball season
Cardinal
came.
fans as a
Yeah.
Cup fan. I have talked to Cardinal fans, and yeah, we don't like each other during the game, but after the game, we can sit there and you know drink something, have food, and just joke around.
Yep. And that's what it should come down to, is that you know that's who we should be striving to as people. you know we should be striving to, whether you like the sequel trilogy in Star Wars or not, I will still, you know, throw down some barbecue, some beans, some coleslaw, and Texas toast, get us some whiskey and sweet tea and some good cigars, and have a good hoot and hollering time, knowing you absolutely love Ray and Kathleen Kennedy. Even though I know that, I will still break bread and have a good time with you, because if you're a decent enough person, I don't care that you like that stuff. I disagree with you. I think you're wrong. But then again, you think I'm wrong. But guess what? It's not only about that. Life is so much bigger than just breaking people down and turning them into tribes. You know,
Hmm.
life is so much bigger than that. And we've devolved, I would say, because of technology, we've devolved into
We've
tribalism.
regressed. We have
Mm hmm.
regressed.
Mm hmm.
We have forgotten how to communicate with one another as human beings. Instead, we let the technology do the communicating for us. I'm guilty of it myself. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm on this pedestal and say I'm better. I'm not. I know I'm not.
Mm hmm. Yeah.
So I do have a story here, and I'm gonna talk about anime. I know not everybody's into anime, but I'm covering anime since I'm still relatively new to anime, and it's something I am getting into. But this article, it comes from Dual Shockers, and it says Mappa is reporting working on Vinland Saga season 2. Here we go again. It's by Shavam Gulati. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But it goes on to say recently a leak surfaced on the internet stating that Mappa is working on season 2 of Vinland Saga. Well, here's everything you need to know about it. Vinland Saga anime is based on Japanese manga series written and illustrated by Makoto Yurimura with Studio, the same animation studio that worked on the first 3 seasons of Attack on Titan, released season 1 of Vinland Saga in December 2019. Of course, the anime community very well knows the curse with anime adaptations of historical manga. For instance, fans are still waiting for a decent Berserk and Kingdom anime. However, season 1 of Vinland Saga broke through those curses and gave us incredible animation, story, and character development. In fact, for some people, it's one of the best anime series of 2019. And it goes on to say it's been more than 2 years since we received season 1 of the incredible Vinland Saga, and fans are still desperately waiting to learn anything about the following season. While it's hard to say when we'll get an official announcement on season 2, however, according to a report from Anime Hype on Twitter, Mappa is Mappa has picked up the next season of Vinland Saga from Wit Studio. The tweet also states that we'll get a new PV for the anime soon. And there's a tweet right there. According to the report, the core staff of the first season will still work on season 2, but we can't be sure about the studio shift or the team until we hear something official. That said, if the leak is true, when Mappa would be working on Vinland Saga, Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, and Hell's Paradise, and obviously a single studio working on several massive projects at once is something that fans notice. So it's no wonder the community went on Twitter to express their feelings after the leak. And then these are some of the tweets. So I have never seen this series, but I saw this article when I'm, just doing my rounds looking for different articles to discuss. And if anyone out there has seen this anime, let me know about it. I'm very curious. Is it good? Is it
I mean,
bad? Is it not worth
yeah,
watching?
yeah. I know nothing about it. I've never heard of it, but then again, they're like, like I've said, when people are like, "What, you haven't seen this anime?" I'm like, you know how many anime series there are out there? Like,
Hmm.
I can't be expected to know all of them.
No.
So,
There are so many different anime series out there. I don't think I'll ever catch up. It's like chaos. He's recommended anime series to me one after the other, and I've said to him, I said, let me get through this one first before I start moving on to anything else.
hmm
Let me absorb the information from this one. This way, I'm not confusing it with another one I've watched and combining all these animes into one conglomerate where you're looking at me and anyone else is looking at me and going, Mike, what in the hell are you talking about? I mean, they might do that already.
they probably do at some point, but they just don't say anything.
Yeah, yeah. And folks, that was meant to be a funny. That's the best jokes I got on here. I'm sorry. I don't consider myself a comedian. I'm funny looking, just not good at telling jokes. Hey, he's funny looking, you know.
I just all I could think of now when I think of Quantum Leap about how they're like doing this, all I could think of was look at my boy. What they done to him? They're so sad, you know what they done to my boy. Sorry. Okay. All right. I'm good. I'm good now.
Huh, what's wrong with this guy? He's telling one story and then he goes on to another story. How do you like that? That's my Rodney Dangerfield for anyone who's curious.
Oh, Rodney. How I would love to hear your comedy about today's times.
You kidding? I think Hollywood's full of crap.
There's a few jokes I could say in a Rodney Dangerfield style, but you'd probably get like a strike or something on YouTube, so I just
Yeah,
won't say it.
yeah. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that, folks.
Yeah,
We'll
we'll
just
just
leave it
yeah,
at
we'll
that.
just yeah.
Oh, come on. Are you too afraid? Yes, Rodney, we're afraid. Sheesh. Back in my day, we would just said it. Huh, we would have got hung.
Yeah, unfortunately, Rodney, it's not that way anymore. You know, it's comedy
You're
is
telling
dead.
me.
Only
I'm sorry.
okay, that was
I,
good.
I,
That was
I could do it all night, but I'm not going to.
that was. I mean, that was good. Anyways, let's just keep moving.
Moving along here. All right, so you're aware of the Knights of the Old Republic remake, are you not?
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
All right. Well,
yeah.
apparently
I I
Sam
I, I
Maggs.
didn't want it.
No, nobody asked for it, especially when you can still buy it on Steam. I'm really tired of this particular bot appearing in the chat. YouTube, do something about it.
Yeah, the what people were clamoring for was not a remake; it was a remaster. Only
Hmm.
thing you do is you just beef up the graphics and the mechanics. Maybe make the because it's turn based style battles. So maybe
Yes, it
you
is.
make the attacks a little bit more faster and fluid and everything. You beef up the graphics. Maybe update the vision, the cutscene battles and whatnot. You know, like give it a really good remastering. That's what people wanted. They didn't want you to remake it, they wanted a remastering. I think they got the definitions confused. Maybe that's just
Hmm.
me.
It'd be like it, I would love for them to remaster Shadows of the Empire. I bought it off Steam because it was a good price, $6. You can't beat that. That's one heck of a deal. All right, I I had to throw that last one in there.
I will say this about remastering. One game I want remastered, Red Alert 2. Remaster
Yes,
that and then re-put it out.
yes, I would
Because
love a
it's not
remaster
easy
of.
to play that game. It's not. I tried looking up how what you have to do to play that game, and you have to download this patch and this mod and download this and download
Mhm.
that. And even then, people say it
I,
works 50% of the time.
I was gonna say I did it. I got it to work, but it was so unstable. I said I can't do it.
I know I poured so many hours into that game, and I honestly, there are very few PC games that I genuinely miss playing. Red Alert 2 and Galactic Battlegrounds were two of them.
Never played Galactic Battlegrounds. What's that about?
So, okay, okay, so did you ever play Age of Empires?
Yes, I did.
Imagine Age of Empires just reskinned for Star Wars.
Okay.
So it's so the game was basically like you played Age of Empires, but it was all Star Wars themed. Like the original, um, what was it? They the original just had the Empire versus the Rebels, and then they did the expansion, which brought in. Oh no, sorry, it was the original brought in. I'm trying to remember here which ones it was. So the original had the Rebellion, the Empire, the Gungans, Naboo, and Trade Federation. I think those were the five races you could pick. And then they did once Attack of the Clones came out, they did a basically a DLC, an extended game where it included the Republic and the CIS. And so the CIS, their main unit was not the standard battle droid; it was the beefier battle droid. That was like their standard unit.
Okay.
And you had like starfighters you could do. It was so much fun. So if you loved playing Age of Empires 2, 1 and 2, you would love Galactic Battlegrounds.
All right. I'll check it on Steam and see if it's available and see how much it's being asked for.
Yeah.
But this story here came out on Monday on Bounty into Comics, and it's written by John F. Trent. It says social justice activist Sam Maggs announced she quit Knights of the Old Republic remake. And let me get rid of yet another bot. YouTube, do something about this. I think I've been spending just as much time reading the articles as I've been trying to get rid of bots.
Uh-huh.
But anyways, it's social justice activist Sam Maggs, a former writer at the Mary Sue, announced she quit working on the Knights of Old Republic remake. Goes on to say, Max previously announced her involvement in the series back in September when the game was announced by Aspire, tweeting, "It's actually happening." The video accompanying the tweet shows her editing her Twitter profile to include Knights of the Old Republic remake. And it goes on to say, in a subsequent tweet, she added, "Could not be more honored and excited to be part of an incredible team at Aspire Media to remake one of my all time favorite games." However, there's always that catch. On her website, Mags now claims she quit after working on the game for 9 months. She wrote, "I was on this project for like 9 months in 2021. Then I quit. You're going to be okay. If you email or message me about it, I won't see it. My filters are really good." Meaning she probably doesn't even read the emails at all.
Uh-huh.
This revelation appears to confirm a rumor from YouTuber Mr. Matty Plays. Back in January, Mr. Matty Plays noted her contract has expired. She's move on to work at Wizards of the Coast to be a narrative lead. He added her role was very minor compared to others that worked there, and this is the video right here. Indeed, Mags announced on Twitter in November 2021 that she joined Wizards of the Coast. She wrote, "Job news. Today I'm joining the brilliant folks at Wizards of the Coast on their digital publishing and licensing team as narrative lead." So, goodbye, Dungeons and Dragons. Given it appears Mr. Matty Play's scoop regarding Mags panned out to be true, it's possible his other scoops regarding the game could be true as well. Those scoops include what the game's combat system will look like and changes to characters. Regarding the combat, he stated, "First and foremost, I wanted to talk about some of the action combat, which, as we saw in job listings, that's more than likely confirmed at this point in time going to be the thing. He continued, what it was compared to in terms of inspiration, this does not mean the execution will be like, but inspiration. They looked at the likes of God of War 2, Noid 2. The YouTuber then noted, on the story front, I was told that they're staying faithful to the main story outside of some changes to characters like race, species, name, age. That's not going to apply to anyone connected to the main plot. He also noted that the game will include mini games like Swoop Racing and Pazak card game, and that Aspire also plans to remaster the original game's soundtrack for the remake. It continues by saying YouTuber Ryan Cannell reacted to the news that Max quit, saying, I think that one, that is good news that she's not working on the project anymore. Later, he added, it is interesting that after a history of, crapping on fans, after a lot of backlash after she was announced, very quietly, she's not working on the project anymore. She's saying she quit. I guess we really don't have any reason to doubt that. So, looks like that's the end of the story there. But yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. All they had to do was upscale the graphics, smooth out, certain effects because that game was released 20 years ago and technology has improved since then.
Mm-hmm. And it's still a
Oh,
fun game, even
yeah.
the original version. It's still fun to play to this, because again, see, this is where that people really misunderstand, like Star Wars, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, Doctor Who, um, other franchises. We we will play the old games even though the graphics aren't the best. It's the content, it's the lore, it's how you
Hmm.
suck us in with good stuff. Because in that game, you could either be a male or a female. You know, I mean, the story was gripping, the action was great. There was a certain level of customizability that you had.
Hmm.
Obviously, in today's games, there's way more, but back in the early 2000s when that game came out, people would just do playthrough after playthrough. And we're talking, this is not a short game. Even if I mean, you're talking, you got to burn about a week of doing 12 to 15 hour a day playthrough, plays to get through
Hmm.
this game and get all the content and the side stuff and all these other things. And it was such a great game, and it still is a great game. That's why
Hmm.
nobody wanted a remake. They wanted, again, the magic word, remaster. That's all they
Yep.
wanted.
And speaking of Lord of the Rings, I am going to take a quick look at the trailer, even though I've already watched it. I do have my opinions on it, but I don't know if you've seen it at all, Patriot, or if you care to see it.
I'm assuming you're talking about the teaser trailer that dropped during the Super Bowl.
Yep, that is the one.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the chat for anyone who does want to watch it, to be fair. And I am going to share the screen. There we go. And the trailer is about 2 minutes long. I'm not going to play the whole trailer, just just a little bit, just to get the gist. So here we go. All right. So first impression, the visuals look nice. at least from those first few shots we see. And I'm sorry, but the budget being put into this, this should look a whole lot better. When you consider that
Mm-hmm.
there's $1 billion being put into this project, this should look a whole lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, I don't care what it is. I never believe that anybody can catch an arrow out of midair with their hands.
I've seen people do it. I've actually seen you people on YouTube who do archery. They have done it. Although it was at range. So it wasn't like, you're talking a good 50, 75 feet. There I have seen people do it. It's not easy. Like, these are trained experts who can shoot, who can toss an aspirin up in the air and fire an arrow and hit it. Like, they're that good. So, yeah. It makes for a cool scene though.
Yeah, I'm not going to deny that. It makes it cool, but it's not realistic.
Yeah.
Ooh, we got a monster. Was that Will Ferrell? I know it's not Will Ferrell, but I'm sorry, but as a teaser trailer, I'm not excited. I'm not excited.
Yep. Yep. I think, who was it who said this? Who said this? They said it on the Geeks and Gamers Tuesday night show last night. Who was it who said? I'm trying to remember exactly who said it, but they said that take Lord of the Rings off the title and just play that, and you would think it's just some random fantasy series. You come up with your own name. You could call it Legend of the Golden Egg, and that would apply. Like, there's nothing in that trailer that screams this is Lord of the Rings. It just screams a very nice looking generic fantasy.
Hmm. That it does.
So, you know.
And I'll be honest, I'd rather just pop in Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, or Return of the King at any time and get my Lord of the Rings fix or read the books.
Mhm.
And I know people are saying, well, this is based on the abridged Tolkien series. Well, honestly, this is just an example, and this is just my opinion, but this is an example of something nobody asked for and nobody wanted.
Mhm. Yep. Because, so for those of you who are listening, and if you're more knowledgeable on this, please correct me if I'm wrong. I will gladly eat my own words. But to my knowledge, the Silmarillion is not one long told story like The Hobbit or the actual Lord of the Rings books. It is basically a collection of various stories over the span of like 2 to 3 thousand years.
Hmm. That's the way
So,
I understand it.
yeah, so how in the world could you create a TV series off of something that literally spans um, several thousand years, but make it one connecting story? That would be something along the lines of. Hang on one second. Sorry, I just got a freaking uh, Amber Alert. I was trying to turn it off. Um, um, Hang on. What the? 1 second.
Take your time.
All right. Am I back?
You're back.
Okay. Sorry. The Amber Alert went off on my phone, and because my AirPods are linked to my iPad, it randomly shot them over to my uh, iPhone when the Amber Alert went off. So I was trying to get them back over to the iPad so I could hear you again.
Okay.
Um, um, but yeah, so that would be like creating a story, a series. So go back several thousand years. Let's go back to early days of the Roman Empire when it was still a republic. We'll go to the Roman Republic times. Now create a story that starts then and ends now. I would
That
love to
that
see
would
how that would look because
that's a tall task.
right, because but here's the thing too, is that which part of the world do you focus on? Do you focus on Europe? Do you focus on Asia? Do you focus on the Middle East? Do you focus on Africa? Because there's stories in that 2,000 year time frame
Hmm.
where people from parts of the world never met each other
Yeah.
ever. So how do you how do you connect them into one solitary story? That's like what they're doing here.
Hmm. And in the
It's
weekend
just
edition
again,
of Pop Talk, I didn't really go into too much detail because that's a recorded video, and that's primarily what the Sunday edition is supposed to be. Although I will do occasional live
mhm.
editions, but I briefly went over the article from Vanity Fair, but I wasn't going to read the whole thing in the video because it was one very long article. But just some of the imagery I saw, it's like, why did they choose this? Why did they choose that? What was their thought process into all this? Those were the
Right.
questions I found myself asking.
Yeah. I and the thing is that young chick you see with the sword, that's Gladriel. To
Yeah.
my understanding of people who explained to me Gladriel, like her history, she was never a warrior. She never
Oh,
was.
no,
It
and
again, it just things don't make add up in it.
no, they've changed the roles of different characters like Hollywood likes to do nowadays because of the message.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if you're gonna
It's
take
all about the
somebody's
message.
yep, if you're gonna take somebody's body of work, then stick to that body of work as it was written. Don't change it for your own needs and purposes. Stick to that original vision.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Or how about this? How about this? How about you don't use the Cimmerillion and you just create your own fantasy work? You
Hmm.
don't do anything Lord of the Rings. You can do that. There's
Yeah.
very few genuinely fantasy movies that come out. Those that do are usually like B or C rated movies, or they're
Hmm.
like series that come out on like Hulu or Amazon Prime or Netflix, but that are B or C rated usually. But like if you wanted to invest in something, Invest in making your own original. If it's good, people will want it. Look at the Orville.
Mm-hmm.
The Orville is something that a fan thought up, Seth MacFarlane. Now it is considered, now by some it's considered like alternate universe Trek by some,
Mm-hmm.
because of how much it sticks to that Star Trek formula while still having, the lightheartedness at times, the humor and everything. But
Yes.
that was like some Seth MacFarlane gambled a lot. He gambled his reputation, I would argue, to make the Orville, and it's paid off. That investment is more than paid off.
It has. I mean, we were all anticipating a March 10th release for season 3, and then, we find out that it's been pushed back to June 2nd, but at least they gave us, that teaser of the first few moments of the first
Oh, that
episode.
teaser. Oh, that teaser.
They just gave us an appetizer and said you have to wait for more.
See,
Uh,
here's the thing is that as much as I can, like bitch and complain about Lord of the Rings, I know I've got Orville coming out this year. I'm okay. I'm okay with. Here's the thing. I will watch this probably because I want to see what the story is, where they're going with it, what they do. Here's the thing. This looks like a massive pile of crap, but it could be like a diamond in the rough, and everyone just sees the rough, but then you find the diamond, and you're like, "This is the best thing I've ever seen," kind of thing. It
mhm.
could be that. So I'm willing to give it several episodes. I'll give it 3 to 4 episodes. Within the first 3 to 4 episodes, if they have not convinced me that it is worth investing any more time, effort, and energy, I will not watch it. I'm willing to give this a fair chance, even though I think it's going to be pure crap. I'm willing to give it that chance still.
Well, I'm going to talk about a series because this will also be a lead into our next story. But Peacemaker, the first few episodes, I wasn't too crazy about the show, but I just kept watching and watching and watching. And this last episode, episode 7, before this Thursday's season finale, this last episode was very good. John Cena isn't the greatest actor out there. He'll never get an Emmy, in my opinion. He'll never get an Oscar, in my opinion. But when he had to show emotion in this episode, he did it, and he did it well.
Hmm.
And I'll be
Interesting.
perfectly honest. I am pumped up to watch Thursday's episode to see how they resolve the season finale, the storyline that we're being told in this first season. I have become invested in these characters. Yes, it does have some woke moments, but I'm able to look past those moments and just enjoy it for what it is. It took me a while. It took me several views of certain episodes to go, all right, this isn't that bad. I'm not gonna make a mountain out of a molehill over this. It's just one of those series where you just have to watch it. Maybe one of these days you and I should pop into my server and I'll show it to you if you're interested.
Hmm.
If you're not, that's cool too.
Well, I've been wanting to get my HBO subscription fired up just because I liked their selection of movies that they had, so in in like original TV series. So I've
Okay.
been meaning to get that going anyways at some point.
All
So
right.
I still might take you up on the offer though, because I don't know when I'm gonna get my HBO fired up again.
Okay. So, this article from Bounding into Comics Says after attacking fans, Amazon Studios' first The Lord of the Rings of Power trailer gets roasted on YouTube with quote attributed to J.R.R. Tolkien. And this was posted on Monday, and it's written by John F. Trent. It says Prime Video and Amazon Studios released their first trailer for The Lord of the Rings of Power, during the Super Bowl, and it was quickly roasted with a quote attributed to the Lord of the Rings creator J.R.R. Tolkien. Polish, English, Russian, and the Lord of the Rings fans across the world repeated the phrase, evil cannot create anything new. It can only distort and destroy what is invented or created by the forces of good, attributing it to the Lord of the Rings creator Tolkien. Goes on to say the quote appears to be a paraphrase from The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, where Frodo tells Sam, the shadow that bred them can only mock, it cannot make, not real new things of its own. I don't think it gave life to the orcs, it only ruined them and twisted them. And if they are to live at all, they have to live like other living creatures. And it goes on to say, here's just a sampling of the numerous users using the phrase to roast the Lord of the Rings of Power trailer. You can see Polish and Russian speakers using the phrase, and there it is in Russian. There it is in Polish. And goes on to say, it's not just Russians and Polish. Portuguese speakers also got in on it. It says the phrase in Portuguese states, and there it is in Portuguese. Sorry, you don't want to hear me read Portuguese. I would butcher it. And then it says this was a global outrage. As you can see, French speakers, Japanese speakers, and Hebrew speakers also use the phrase. So, in other words, there's worldwide outcry over this, and people are unhappy. But they're right. Whether Tolkien said that or not isn't the whole point. What they're saying, and we've seen it too many times. Look at Ghostbusters 2016, for example. Look at Star Trek. Look at Star Wars. Look at Doctor Who right now. Those who did not create those properties, who have no real interest in those properties other than to make some sort of profit, they don't care about it. They don't care about it like someone of Dan Aykroyd's stature or Harold Ramis' stature, Gene Roddenberry, you know, anybody who's responsible for creating these, franchises. They don't care about these franchises like Lucas cared about Star Wars. And the article says not
Yep.
only are fans expressing their disgust with Prime Video and Amazon Studios trailer and their promise for the show, but the trailer only has 58,000 total likes despite being viewed over 6.6 million times. It's because people are looking at it and going, what? This repetition of the phrase attributed to Tolkien comes after Prime Video and Amazon Studios used Vanity Fair to deride fans critical of the show in a puff piece that revealed the show's first images, as well as significant plot and character details, such as the fact that Gadriel is now commander of the Northern armies and Elrond is a politically ambitious young leader. Yeah, and that's the article. I wasn't going to read the entire article because of how long it was. Goes on to say Vanity Fair writers Anthony Benzican and Joanna Robinson called critics of The Lord of the Rings of Power trolls in their piece. Well, that's the same line they always go to. You're an is, you're a phobe, you're a troll, you're a this, you're that. People are allowed to have differing opinions. That's what we've forgotten as a society. People have differing opinions. You either take
Mm-hmm.
their opinion at face value or you just shrug it off. Okay, it says specifically
Yep.
they wrote when Amazon released photos of its multicultural cast, even without character names or plot details, the studio endured a reflexive attack from trolls, the anonymous online kind. Uh huh. They went on to cite feminist activist Marina Rios Maldonado that they described as a token scholar to try and paint critics as racist and bigots. Maldonado told Vanity Fair, obviously, there was going to be push and backlash, but the question is from whom? Who are these people that feel so threatened or disgusted by the idea that an elf is black or Latino or Asian? Clearly, given the comments coming from different places around the world, the narrative from Maldonado, Vanity Fair, and Prime Video just blew up. Yep, it blew up in their face. That's what happened. And that's what Hollywood deserves. They deserve to get this kind of fan pushback. When fans who care about the Lord of the Rings push back by looking at the trailer and letting their opinion be known. That's what we all need to do, to be perfectly honest.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, so the next article we are going to talk about is related to Peacemaker. So let me pull it up here. And this article also came out on Monday on Bounding into Comics. I will post a link here in just a little bit. And I also have the link to all the articles in the description below if you would like to look at these articles in your own time. But this article is by J.B. Augustine. It was posted on their site on Monday. It says John Cena did not research Peacemaker at the behest of James Gunn. And the article starts off by saying HBO Max Peacemaker has unsurprisingly little to do with the source material put out by Charlton and DC that preceded it, and there is a huge reason why the adult oriented spin goes in its own direction. It says that reason is the driving force behind the series, the Suicide Squad writer and director James Gunn, who did not want to star John Cena digging through back issues for inspiration. On the show's companion podcast, Podley Cena commented he was prepared to get every comic or periodical or anything about Peacemaker and study up, but Gunn said no to that. Goes on to say, and as such, Cena did not read any comics before or during production to Gunn because many different artists have given different interpretations of Peacemaker. It was up to him and Cena to craft a new one in this generation. Cena added, I think he didn't want me to read those comics because he didn't want me to develop biases that would interfere with the reimagining of Peacemaker as a douchey Captain America that doesn't come from the Charlton comics. James Gunn obviously kept some things such as the costume, the Dove of Peace logo, the absurdly long handgun, Desert Eagle, and the unmistakable helmet, which is often compared to a toilet bowl and seat. But Gunn also likes to inject his R rated brand of meta humor and often to the detriment of the material. Yes, he does. It says in the HBO Max series, The Suicide Squad, Peacemaker is another flawed and insecure wannabe hero with daddy issues in over his head. He's Peter Quill for mature audiences. And it says Paul Kupperberg gave the Silver Age hero a dark past when DC acquired and relaunched him, but you could still take the story seriously. It says during the Charlton days under Pat Boyett and Joe Gill. More importantly, Christopher Smith didn't possess an urge to kill in order to keep peace. He reserved the use of force under the pretense of superheroics, but his means and ordnance were non lethal. Fast forward 50 years, and Gunn's grittier, gorier sci fi take on Peacemaker is on the cusp of its season finale in the next episode. And am I surprised that they are deliberate in their action and deviating from the source material? Not anymore. 6 years ago, I would have been surprised, but not anymore. It really doesn't surprise me. It's what Hollywood does now. I'm not trying to make an excuse, I'm just pointing out fact.
Yeah, I mean, I give John Cena respect from the aspect of he wanted to do research and everything and go buy every single Peacemaker comic he could to try and really fill in the character's shoes. But
Mm-hmm.
um, I also get why Gunn didn't, because if Peacemaker was, not this version of Peacemaker, then you don't want your star reading up. Like, let's say the most Peacemaker ever did was use a single handgun, and everything he did was tasers and pepper balls and nunchucks, we'll say. Well, if you want to make a grittier one, you have to kind of dispense with all of that,
Mm-hmm.
because that wouldn't make for a gritty show. So I get, like, I get why Gunn didn't want him to do it, but I still give John Cena credit for wanting to make that effort. Like,
Yeah.
not every actor is willing to go that is offering to go to that length. So,
No, uh, not every actor even cares about the source material. I mean, Robert Pattinson didn't even know that, you know, Bruce Wayne, Batman, was a detective. He didn't know about Batman's model, the world's famous detective, because he didn't read up on the source material.
hmm yep.
Yep, yeah, that's Hollywood. And I have another DC related article here from the Hollywood Reporter. I will once again share this in the chat, but as I said before, all the articles that I'm talking about tonight are in the description below. So, this article from the Hollywood Reporter was posted on Monday. It's by Boris Kit. It says Wonder Twins DC movie in the works with Adam, and I'm going to butcher this, so I know I am. Sidskel or Stykel. I I don't know. Like I said, I'm probably butchering it. It's probably none of those two. To write direct exclusive. Marty Bowen and Wick Godfrey of Temple Hill are producing the feature for HBO Max. And it says Warner Brothers is activating the power of the Wonder Twins. The Burbank based studio has hired Adam Sidskel. I'll try it that way too, who worked on the upcoming Black Adam, to write and direct an original live action feature for HBO Max based on the DC characters. Marty Bowen and Wick Godfrey of Temple Hill, the prolific banner whose credits range from The Twilight Saga and The Maze Runner to Fault of Our Stars and Love and Simon, will produce a project which will be titled Wonder Twins. The Wonder Twins are a pair of alien siblings named Zan and Jaina. They were imprinted on a generation of television viewers thanks to their introduction on Hanna-Barbera's The All New Super Friends Hour. Yes, yes. I watched that as a kid. Wonder Twin powers activate.
Mm-hmm.
A- And then they would say the form of an ape, the form of a cheetah, and change into those forms.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, as young companions to adult heroes such as Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, the duo appeared in the Super Friends comic and over time became incorporated into the larger DC universe. It says the twins were known for their catchphrase, Wonder Twin powers activate, said before Janet transformed into any animal while Zan turned into the many shapes of water. While the characters became the butt of jokes, and in modern times, memes, DC has also uh, attempted to update and scale up the characters who have also appeared on episodes of Teen Titans Go, Smallville, and The Flash. Plot lines for the project are being kept in the Hall of Justice. Meanwhile, in the Hall of Justice, side
Oh, I
scale.
remember that.
Yep.
I always laughed at the Wonder Twins personally.
So did I. Sidescale, an established big studio scribe, has a long history with the Warner Brothers, having worked on movie comedies, Due Date, Project X, Spy Guys, We're the Millers, and the Dwayne Johnson monster movie Rampage, as well as serving as writer and producer of Scoob for Warner Animation Group. He reteamed with Johnson for Black Adam, one of Warner's big DC tentpoles that is being released theatrically July 29th. Sitscale is repped by ETA Kaplan, Perron, and MFW. And yes, I know I've said his last name multiple times. Maybe one of those versions is correct, but I don't know. I, I'm not saying I wouldn't watch it. It just depends on what I see in the trailer, whether I would actually be interested in watching it at all. It's like yesterday, seeing Clownfish TV talk about the fact that there was a trailer released for Chippendale Rescue Rangers, and they actually showed some clips. I'm going, um, this isn't the Chippendale Rescue Rangers I grew up with. Sorry, sorry. I know I get silly on these, but
No, I I heard about that trailer. I haven't seen it. Um, I mean, the thing is that as somebody who grew up on Chippendale Rescue Rangers, I mean, that was the golden age of Disney cartoons. You had
mm-hmm.
Darkwing Duck, Chippendale Rescue Rangers, DuckTales, uh,
Tailspin,
what was that one?
gummy
There
bears,
was Tailspin. There you go.
gargoyles.
Yeah, so I mean, you had gargoyles. Yeah, you had there. That was like SWAT cats. You had all these great cartoons, and the Disney ones. They took standard characters. That you wouldn't think. Oh wait, wait. You're gonna turn Donald into a superhero? Yeah, Darkwing Duck. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
turn Baloo the bear into a like high flying adventurer guy who takes on like pirates and has adventures. Yeah, Tailspin. You're going to
Yep.
turn Chip and Dale into the leaders of this team that go help the innocent. Yeah, Chippendale Rescue Rangers. Like it was shows to this day that all you got to do is you just got to start playing the music, and anybody who watched them as a kid, they will start humming or singing the theme song.
Yeah. I still remember the theme song.
I I I I, I Chip and Dale Rescue.
Rescue Rangers. Chippendale.
Or
E-
I mean, Darkwing Duck was great. Darkwing Duck, let's get dangerous. Darkwing Duck.
Better look out, you bad boys. But see, that's the thing. That's when entertainment was memorable.
Oh,
That's why
it
all these
was
years
so
later, we
good.
still remember the theme songs from various animated cartoons and live action TV shows, and we remember plots and storylines from different shows so well
Mm-hmm.
because we were invested. As a kid, what did you do? You got off the school bus, you got home. Yeah, you might have had to do homework. Well, still turn on the TV and let it play in the background. Or watch it and then do your homework.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep, yep, yep.
Yep. I mean, again, it. There are things you do not touch. There are things you do not touch. You do not remake. You do not do a damn thing to. Do not f with my classic '90s cartoons that I grew up with. Okay, don't even dare. The only one that I want you to mess with is I want you to remake SWAT Cats with like modern anime so it's even more badass, but still keep
Mm-hmm.
that fun feel that it had, the character interaction, the character growth, and give me more stories in a non woke fashion.
Just tell a
That's what I
story.
want.
Just tell a story. Don't put any politics behind it. Don't put any check marks behind it. Just tell a
Mm-hmm.
story. Give us characters that we can care about in stories that we care about. Stories that, you know, the next day at work, the next day at school, wherever, we go up to a friend, we go up to a colleague and say, "Did you see the latest episode of insert the name of the show here?"
Mm-hmm.
Or, here on YouTube, Patriot and I. Oh man, did you see that episode? Oh, wasn't that awesome?
Yeah, I mean, do you do you remember like I mean, because you were in high school or in the '90s, so I mean, obviously it was a little bit different because I was in elementary school. But just 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 having that time with your friends, and you would talk about the shows you loved. You would act them out. You would do this. You would do that. You know, I mean, kids these days don't understand. The '90s were Vanilla Ice said it best. The '90s was the last great decade we had because it was the decade before social media, before all this wokeism. The moment
Mm-hmm.
social media and then wokeism entered into the fray, kids these days will not understand what it was like for us in the '90s. The '90s was such a memorable time for me as a kid growing up. So many TV shows, so many new things, Power Rangers, Disney cartoons, Star Wars re-emerging with episode 1 coming out in the late '90s, you know. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the live action movies coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was so much amazing stuff in the '90s that we got as kids. We got to
Yep.
experience. We got to, you know, I mean, y'all think today, I guarantee you, probably not a lot of people know what the hell a yo yo is. But when I was a kid growing up in the '90s, you got yourself a yo-yo and you got very specific ones. It was if you could walk the dog around the world, you could do certain
Mm-hmm.
tricks, you were the shit. The girls
Mm-hmm.
wanted to know you, the guys wanted to be your friends because not everyone could do it. But if you could work a yo-yo like a magician and do all those tricks, oh, you were it, man. You were the popular kid,
Yeah.
you know?
Even playing hacky sack. Or
Hacky
there are
sack
kids that,
in my circles wasn't a big thing, but I know it was in other places, just not in the area I grew up. It wasn't like hacky sack was not like the big thing. But
well,
yes, I
that's
agree.
what I was
Yeah.
going to say. In my area, hacky sack was very popular. Skateboarding was very popular where I grew up.
Yep. Yep. In my area, it was taking bikes because as a kid I lived in like northeastern Georgia, about an hour to an hour and a half outside of Atlanta. So, and it wasn't like as busy as it was today, but like because when you're there, the ground is very more hilly and whatnot. So all our neighbors, you knew all your neighbors. Like the kids got out, you met the neighborhood kids. Like summertime was it. Summertime, we did kickball, baseball, soccer, street hockey, dodgeball. You know, bike races. You got hot, you drank from the hose, or you went inside to the faucet, opened it up, you just guzzled down some water, turned off the faucet, you went back outside, you got scraped up. We built homemade ramps, we did all sorts of stuff. It was beautiful.
It was fun being a kid in the 80s and the 90s because you're exactly
Mm-hmm.
right. We would play,
Mm-hmm.
especially on the weekend, from morning till night.
Yep.
We would be
and,
outside
and, and
constantly.
Yep, you were outside constantly. And at night is when you would play your video games. So you'd go outside, you'd hang out all day, and then if some of your friends stayed over for dinner, that's when you would go and you'd have your hangout time with your friends playing N64 or playing PlayStation or playing Sega, depending on which system you owned at the time. Like,
Oh,
that was the big thing is at night you'd play your video games, but during the day you went inside it. You went outside and you just played. You just played
and,
whatever.
and here's the thing: growing up in the 80s, when kids in my neighborhood were getting the NES, and
Mm-hmm.
because we all knew each other, we would go to each other's house with whatever game we had. If it wasn't Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt, if we each had a different game, we would go over with that game and we would play it for hours on end.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was like that in the 90s too, because not everybody would have Super Smash Brothers or Donkey Kong Racing or this game or that game. So like it'd be like, dude, I just got the new Pokemon Stadium game. What? No way. Yeah, man. Oh, you got to bring that over, man. So you bring it over and you'd play the crap out of that game for as long
Hmm.
as your friend was over that day. If he spent the night, oh, that was golden because you'd be up till 2 in the morning playing it, and then
Hmm.
you'd go to sleep. You'd wake up at like 7 in the morning, and you'd go back to playing it for the first half of the day. And then your mom would come pick you up. You'd go home, shower and whatnot and everything because you were exhausted because you were going on little sleep because you had to play the latest game with your friend and everything.
Yep.
Like, I mean, I remember those days. Uh,
Or,
it was just
your friend
beautiful.
would stay over at your house or you would stay over at their house, and whatever set of parents were there, whether it was your parents or your friend's parents, we would go to the video store. Now,
Mm-hmm.
at at one
Blockbuster.
point for me, before Blockbuster and before the warehouse, because that was another place where I could rent video games, we had at least three video stores right near my neighborhood. One that was right in my neighborhood, one that was right across the street, and then one that was just a couple blocks over. So we could go
Mm-hmm.
to any one of those video stores and rent a
Mm-hmm.
game and then come back, play that game, maybe grab a pizza, get
Yep.
pizza, or, because we were kids, we liked McDonald's and McDonald's was
Oh
cheap.
yeah. Yep.
I
I
mean,
remember them. Yeah. Those were the good old days.
yeah, I was just gonna say those were the days.
Yeah. As a
Man,
kid, man, it was, and it was funny. It was where I grew up as a kid, it was when the moms all wanted to go hang out, they'd all meet up at McDonald's. And we would always go to the McDonald's that had the biggest play set. And all the kids would go play in the play set. So they'd all get every kid would get a Happy Meal, and then we'd scarf down our fries and our food and just have a little bit of the drink because we knew we'd be playing a lot, so we had to ration that drink out. So
Mm-hmm.
you'd go play, come back, take a quick swig, and then you go back and you play more. And mom and her friends, they're all, they're chatting it up and everything for like an hour and a half, and the kids, they're in the ball pen, they're going throughout that entire play set. Man, that was like the highlight. Like you knew, hey, we're going to McDonald's. Every time we went to McDonald's, it was because we were meeting up with our friends.
Mm-hmm.
And they used to
Also,
have the N. Do you remember the N64 in the McDonald's?
yes, yes. At my local McDonald's before we left California, they did have one in there, and it was fun. I mean, even walking into Blockbuster when you had the PlayStation coming out and you had the Saturn coming out, those were the two systems they had in there. And being able
Mm-hmm.
to try those systems out for the first time. Then they got the N64 in there for anybody to try out because they were renting those systems too. That's what
Mm-hmm.
a lot of kids who were born after us didn't get to experience. Going to the video store and actually renting these game systems, renting a DVD player, renting a VCR, because not
Yep.
everybody had those things. But you would
Yep.
get to try it, and then you say, "Yeah, let's rent this," and then you'd look for a game, and you'd be reading the descriptions on the back of the game, or just looking at the screenshots and
Yep.
going, "Wow, look at this game." I mean, Chaos and I, we used to borrow each other's systems. He would borrow my Genesis, I would borrow his Super Nintendo, and then I would go to Blockbuster because by that time the video store that was in my neighborhood had closed because that whole shopping center was bought out by a bakery. So they used all that space for their bakery.
Hmm.
And I would go to Blockbuster or the warehouse and I would run a game to play on Super Nintendo, a game that I wanted to play that I'd heard so much about, but it was only available for the Super Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I first experienced Mega Man X, going, "Oh, I wish I had a Super Nintendo."
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember like you'd go to so back in the day when you would go to like even like Macy's used to have even a small little electronic spot. It wasn't big. It wasn't like a Walmart or a Target area. It was a small little area.
Mhm,
But the way you knew if a game was going to be good is they had the consoles there. So they would have a console. So it really became big, especially once the PlayStation and
mhm,
the N64 came out. With Sega and Super Nintendo, I didn't see as much of these, but when those two systems came out, the first place the kids would go was you'd run over there, and they'd have the big selling game, like when Rogue Squadron came out for the N64. All the kids wanted to play Rogue Squadron. It was only the first level. It wasn't like the whole game. It was only the first level. But all the kids would be playing and playing and playing and playing. So you see, there'd be a line of kids at Macy's waiting for their shot to play the N64 or the PlayStation, whatever the big game that they were highlighting would be.
mhm,
And that's how you would kill time. And then if you were lucky, there were no kids around. Because since I was homeschooled, we would sometimes go to the stores when all the kids were in school. So sometimes we go and you'd see maybe one kid on one of these consoles. So you knew, okay, it's 1:30. I know that the kids won't start coming in here with their moms or their dads or their parents for at least
mhm,
another couple hours. And my mom wasn't always in Macy's for long, maybe 20, 30 minutes tops to get like one or two items. So we'd go there and I'd be playing and playing and playing. And because my brothers couldn't reach up there to play, one or both would have to go to with my mom. So I told my mom, I'm going to be in the electronics area. She'd be like, okay, you stay right there. You do not leave that area until I come and get you. And if you left there, oh, hell hath no fury. I mean, it was fire and brimstone. It was you got the lecturing and spanking treatment. So you'd sit there, you just play and play and play in Macy's. Just play and play and play. It was the thing. That was like the thing, you know. You go to Walmart. They'd have a N64 place, or even when the Xbox first came out, and they had that ungodly massive controller before they redesigned the controller. You had that controller, and you'd be playing your demo at Walmart or at Target. You'd be playing that demo right there constantly. That was like the good old days of gaming when you had that stuff.
Sorry, brother, my mic cut off.
It's okay. It's all good.
But yeah, I mean, I used to go to places like Kmart, Target, Toys R Us, KB toy stores, and you know, of course, when I went in there, I would look and see if they got the newest Star Trek figure or figures, because that's what I was starting to collect at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I would, you know, go over to the game section and I would play the Super Nintendo that's on display, or I'd play the Genesis that's on display, or I'd play the Game Boy, or the TurboGrafx
Mm-hmm.
16.
Yep.
And Nerporial says, I remember Funko Land playing Sonic and the Sega Genesis and then wanting one right away. Exactly.
Yep. Yep. That was the advertisement. They knew that we don't have to put out immense amounts of money for TV ads. We just got to put one console, maybe two per store, and only have the demo playing or only the first level available to play. And that was it. That was how they advertised, because they knew it
Mhm.
wasn't usually the adults that wanted these systems. Granted, yes, sometimes it was adults, but it was usually the kids and the high schoolers
Yep.
that wanted these systems.
And that's the thing about these demo units. They were put on a timer. So you would select a game and you might get, you know, only 15 minutes out of that game. But the reason why they were put on timers and you only got 15 minutes is because they wanted you to buy that game.
Yep, yep,
If you wanted to complete the level in Super Mario World, well, guess what? You better hope that your parents are willing to buy a Super Nintendo that came with Super
yep,
Mario World.
yep. Or if you
Yeah.
wanted wanted Rogue Squadron, you better hope that your parents bought you the N64 package that had the game Rogue Squadron included in that package.
Mm-hmm. See, that's what a lot of young people don't understand. When we would see the latest and greatest game console, there was a time where you get a packing game to go along with them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until later when they started releasing the Genesis Core system that just came with a controller and the Genesis, or the Super Nintendo that only came with the controller and the Super Nintendo itself. Wasn't
Mm-hmm.
like that. I also want to say hello to Woopa Troopa. Happy Woopa Wednesday.
Woopa.
Yes, the bots have been busy,
Yep.
and YouTube doesn't do a darn thing about it.
Well, why would they? They they're probably encouraging the bots to exist.
I'd like to encourage the bots, but in a completely different way.
I'd like to Havada Kedavra some bots personally, but that's just me.
You know what I like to do since I'm bot? I like to walk down that aisle, get into that ring, and whip their ass. If you want to see this spot get banned, give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah!
See, even wrestling was fun back in the day because the wrestling video games, when they started getting better, that's another thing people would talk about are the wrestling video games. Well, do you
Mm-hmm.
have, SmackDown for PlayStation? No. Do you
Yep.
have, you know, WrestleMania? No. I
Yeah.
mean,
That that's how it
games.
was.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how it was. You know, it was.
Whoopa, whoopa, whoopa.
Whoopa, I'm still working on
I
that Pokeball, man. I'm working on the programming for it. One day, Whoopa.
Whoopa, you're lucky I don't put you in a 30-second timeout. Uh, but yeah, those are the days. Just like, Marvel used to be good. And now
Yep.
Marvel released a trailer for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
I saw this trailer. I'm watching the trailer and I'm just confused. Like it just it just it, I don't the trailer all it did was not, it
It
doesn't
didn't
make
do
me
anything
not
for
want
me.
to. Yeah, it didn't do anything for me. Like I it's it didn't make me not want to see the movie, but at the same time it doesn't make me want to see the movie. Like it puts me in a state of just like a giant question mark hovering over my head. Like
Hmm.
what what's going on here? Like it's a bit confusing.
I mean, I feel the same way about Doctor Strange as I feel about the Batman. I don't necessarily want to or need to see it.
Yeah, at least the Batman movie. I'm more curious about the Batman movie because seeing Robert Pattinson's portrayal because
That
remember
sparkles.
yeah, I know. Well, the thing is that he's stepping into those same shoes that Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, Christian Bale have stepped into, and Ben Affleck and done really well in. So you got
Hmm.
some big names that you're stepping in there with. So I want to see it to see does he make a good Batman? Like does he sell me as Bruce Wayne Batman?
Hmm.
You know, Doctor Strange, I mean the problem is that they introduced the multiverse or they supposedly introduced the multiverse in the second Spider-Man movie. Then they actually bring in the multiverse in the third Spider-Man movie. And now they're exploring the multiverse more, but the problem is that they're making it seem like it's uh uh, uh the trailer gives me like a world-ending event how like Volcano or 2012 or Armageddon did, but they're mixing it with Marvel movies. That's not a good combination. Like that's very tricky roads to navigate
Hmm.
to try and fuse those two together. That's what the trailer gave me when I watched it. I don't know if it gave you the same combo mix, but that's what it gave me.
It did. I mean, I don't want to be looking at a trailer and be put into a position where I'm asking more questions than you know the answers I'll be given. If there are more questions
Hmm.
than answers, I'm not going to go see it.
Yeah.
And you know, how do I feel about these two meeting up together? Well, they were supposed to meet up together at the end of WandaVision. Doctor Strange was supposed to be in it, but they removed him.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's another world ending event, this time dealing with the multiverse. Get back to there. I mean, everything's pretty much at a mishmash and everything's falling apart. And I want to say hello to the Padawannabe. I still haven't seen the new Spider-Man, so I know I'm missing something for the Doctor Strange story. Yes, I would recommend, if you decide to go see Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, to watch Spider-Man No Way Home, so you at least have some sort of reference as to what they are talking about. Super nervous
Yeah.
about this new Batman. It's going to be a Bruce Wayne. We don't really know. Very true.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time where you'd see a trailer for a Marvel movie and automatically you'd say, I'm going to go see that. I don't care when, but I'm going to go see it. And now I think we're just all burnt out where we don't care.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing. I think Marvel is going to burn itself out because Spider-Man, I think honestly, I don't think Spider-Man would have done the numbers it did had it not been for Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire being in it. If it was just um, Holland, I don't think it would have done what it did in the box office personally.
No, it wouldn't have. It would have still been a success for Sony, but not to the same level as it is for
Yeah.
the movie as we've seen it with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield returning.
Hmm.
Now, I did think this was pretty weird.
Yeah, that was actually kind of a little bit disturbing, actually.
Yeah. And then, of course, an old trope. He's going to face his evil version.
Which, if Pacific, you watched the trailer, I'm assuming, correct?
I did. That's why I'm not playing it. I'm just
Right.
trying to find different
But
scenes.
was there a voice that you heard in this trailer that you recognized?
I don't know what you mean, Patriot. I have no idea. I'm off in some ranky danky starship, and I'm apologizing for everything I never did.
So, for those of you who are wondering what I'm talking about, if you watch the trailer, there is a scene with a unique voice of a certain professor.
What do you mean? He's a starship admiral, a starship captain who apologizes. Yes, the Padawannabe, Jean Luc Professor X, computer and program.
Yeah. So basically, what I'm talking about is that, and honestly, I'm not spoiling anything because you could easily just watch the trailer and for yourself. There's a scene where Strange stands before, basically kind of like a council, but you don't really see the much of the council anyway. They just kind of see what kind of looks like figures, like with like blinding white light behind them, so you don't really see anybody, and then all you hear is a voice, and then it basically says something along the lines of, perhaps we should explain to him the truth. And it's Patrick Stewart as Professor X.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem is that that X-Men, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, because I could be very wrong. I don't know if that X-Men was ever considered canon.
I don't think it was.
It was not. I think once they did First Class, that was considered canon.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that Patrick Stewart's Professor X is now canon somehow,
Yep.
which doesn't make any sense. Because you could say, well, it's the multiverse. So is that the explanation for everything? If you could easily just say, oh well, we're in the multiverse, so now everything is canon. Okay, because we know Charlie Day's Daredevil. Or no, it's not Charlie Day. The Daredevil from the Netflix series. We know that's canon because he appeared in Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does that mean that Ben Affleck's Daredevil is canon now too? Because if
Well,
because if we're just
shouldn't
pulling
it be? Shouldn't it be if
it,
they're
well,
just going to pull one character from one universe to another?
exactly. I mean, now that we're dealing with the multiverse, any Marvel movie that has ever come out is now canon. If you're going to pull Professor X, Patrick Stewart's Professor X in now, that means, in my opinion, every Marvel movie that has ever come out is now canon. Whether good or bad, it means it is now canon.
Yeah, and the Padawannabe says Days of Future Past changed the timeline, but well, couldn't you say that Logan took place in an alternate timeline?
Yeah, I mean,
Be-
you could easily make that argument. Yeah.
because correct me if I'm wrong. In X Men Last Stand, Professor X dies.
No, no, he doesn't. Okay. Whew. Days of Future Past, where they're battling the
I'm
Sentinels.
talking
You would
about
see
X Men The
Patrick.
Last Stand, though.
No, because at the end of the movie, um, when the nurse is treating him, like the person the guy who's laying there starts speaking, but it's Professor X's voice. Because at one point earlier in the movie, there's something in the movie that's referenced about like being able to like transfer your conscience or something like that. It's like briefly mentioned in The Last Stand. And, like it's never covered deeply.
Well, it was so brief that I didn't even catch it. Yeah, the bots have been busy tonight.
Hmm.
And of course, this is supposed to be the alternate version of Wanda. I mean, you could say that the alternate version, the one that we know, are one and the same, especially after what happened in WandaVision.
I mean, I didn't watch WandaVision because I had literally no desire to. Like, not even the shred of slightest. I mean, I think Elizabeth Olsen's a beautiful, beautiful woman, but she's not enough to make me have to watch that show. Which, from everyone that I know that watched it, did not like it at all.
It was good for the first 3 episodes, but then after that, it fell apart.
Yeah.
But yeah, I probably won't see Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I did see the first one. I liked it. I wasn't that familiar with Doctor Strange and his origins, but I liked it for what it was.
Yeah. I mean, the problem right now I think Marvel's running into is that you have no big baddie you're building up to. You
Hmm.
had Thanos for a decade. over a decade, actually, I think, that you were building up to. That's what
Hmm.
all the movies were leading up to. Now, who's your big baddie? Galactus, who you have not referenced once. You have not referenced any big baddie. Every Marvel movie now is just its own self contained movie,
Hmm.
which, okay, is great and all, but look at the Marvel movies um that came before Iron Man. The only one that had, well, okay, okay, well, we know X-Men had good success. Blade had some pretty good success, but those were their own self-contained things. Now, with Thanos and that whole thing gone, all they can do now is have member berries of characters showing up from other parts of the Marvel franchise that we have seen over the past, since what, 2007, 8 now,
Hmm.
show up in movies. That's all they have. They do not have a long-term plan, you
No,
know?
it's just like Lucasfilm with Star Wars. They don't have a plan.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So,
I'm sorry, Disney, but you have lost your touch, and you lost your touch quite some time ago. You no longer create; you just purchase and destroy. In my opinion.
no, I agree. I agree.
So I am going to go ahead and move on to the next story, and this is comics, and it was posted on Saturday, February 12th. It says The Rising of the Shield Hero Season 2 gets new trailer, key visual, and it says everyone's favorite outrage generating anime, The Rising of the Shield Hero has officially received a new trailer and key visual for its upcoming second season.
I don't see anything on the screen, by the way. I just see like
Uh,
your Pacific 414 like Pop Talk thing. I don't see an actual like article up.
all right, well, let me remove it and bring it back up. I don't know
Nope.
what's going on. So, you know what? Hold on one second. I'm going to do a refresh.
So everybody, this is now the Smoking Patriot show. So, okay.
Not so
Ah.
fast. Trying to hijack my show, are you?
Hey, hey,
Meanwhile,
hey!
another Russian
You
bot.
left it. You left it. Somebody had to fill in. So you know what? I was the. I was. You know.
I see what it is. All right. I'm going to find an opportunity to kick Mike out. And damn. No, what was happening, Whoopa, it wasn't a boomer moment. I could see the article that I wanted to show on screen, but for some reason, StreamYards wasn't showing it to you guys. Because when I looked over at YouTube Studio, I could see what Patriot was telling me. So the only solution I had was to refresh my browser source and come back. Very funny, Whoopa. Very funny. Smoking Patriot Pop Talk. He is the
See,
captain now.
Whoopa knows the. Whoopa knows the hierarchy. I might just take an extra day or two now, Whoopa, and on that Pokeball, just because you said that. I'll give you just a few more days.
Yes. Yeah, it's because he's sucking up to you. That's why. You know, there are times when the crew wants to commit mutiny, and tonight's the night. The crew is committing mutiny against their dear captain. Now, before I read this article, can you see it? The stream is on a 30-second delay,
Yes.
just to let you know. Okay,
Yeah, I can see
okay,
it.
all right. I wanted to make sure. Calling me a boomer. Oh, come on, Whoopa. I wasn't even born in that generation. I'm a DXer. Gen X, more specifically. We were the pioneers of working on computers. We could figure it out before our parents could. We could figure out how to set up the VCR so it would stop flashing 12 a.m. We were the ones who paved the way for you Pokeballers. Yeah, see? Alan Copeland has it right. Hail, Captain Pacific, and hail to you, Alan Copeland.
Alan, just for that, you're kicked out of the rebellion now. You're no longer a rebel. Go back, go, go back to your imperial overlords.
You have done well, Alan Copeland. All right, so for those who are in the chat right now, or for anybody who might watch this after the fact, are there any The Rising of the Shield hero fans out there? Because The Rising of the Shield hero gets a season 2 trailer and key visual. And I am going to restart this article since it wasn't showing the last time. It says everyone's favorite outrage generating anime, The Rising of the Shield Hero, has officially received a new trailer and key visual for its upcoming second season. It's sure adapting the spirit Tor- Tortsoi, or yeah, Tortsoi. That's what I'm going with. I know it's probably wrong, but that's what I'm going with. Story from the sixth volume of Iniko Usagi's original light novel series, The Rising of the Shield Hero, second season, will see Nayofumi, Reptilia, Philo, and their allies. And again, I'm sorry for butchering these names, but I'm trying here. And their allies set out to stop the Guardian Beast and its familiars from destroying the world. I'm not going to play the trailer, but you're all welcome to read this article and watch the trailer by clicking that link I have just provided. It says alongside the trailer, the series North American licensors Crunchyroll Funimation released a new key visual showing the season's protagonist standing in front of the massive spirit turtle, and goes on to say Crunchyroll also announced that both Mad Kid and Chia, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that first name too, so excuse me, Chia Fujikawa, who provided both of last season's opening and ending themes, are returning to provide new intro and outro music. Now, I will say that Brandon, the anime guy, has recommended this series, so I will start watching it at some point, but I have to finish what I've started before I move on to another one. It says Mad Kids Bring Back will open the show while Fujikawa's user Rani will end each episode for the foreseeable future. Goes on to say the Rising of the Shield Heroes second season will also see the return of the series' principal voice cast, including Keito Ishikawa as Naofumi Asami Sito as Rafatalia, and Rina Hayaka as Philo, as well as the introduction of Kana Hanazawa, Chiaki Nami. I'm trying here, and Dengana Rampa. I have no idea. As the physical manifestation of the spirit Protosi soul Os Horai. It says also reprising the roles are Yishi Suga Mat- Matsuoka. Again, I'm sorry. I know this is gonna drive people away from hearing me pronounce these names, but I I'd like to see anybody who's doesn't read Japanese names try it. I'm not making an excuse, I'm just stating fact. As Ranamaki Makoto Takahashi, as Moto Yazu, and Yoshida Taka as again, I probably butchered that and really, really just brought it off. Yama as Itsuki Kawazumi. Again, the more anime I get exposed to, the better I'll get at pronouncing these names as I hear them. Maya Uchild as Melty, and Kiko Inu as Morelia. It says, however, in face of these numerous returns, season one director Taya Taikyo Obo declined to be one of them. As such, he will be replaced in the role by Masato Jimbo, whose portfolio includes such anime directorial work as Chaos Child, Sinru, Shinjo, and Watamote. Again, I apologize for butchering these names. You can go ahead and leave your comments down below going, oh my god, you can't even pronounce it. No, I can't. Said the Rising of the Shield Hero season is set to premiere sometime in April 2022. Well, I've heard that it's a good series. Again, like I said, Brandon the anime guy has recommended it. Channel 66 probably knows about it just as well as Brandon. So I will eventually watch it for myself and, you know, make my own judgment on the series. But it's great to know that another Japanese series that seems to be, you know, catching waves here in the West is coming back for a second season. All right. So we have one more story to get through. And thank you, Patriot, for, putting up with me butchering these names. So let's go ahead and go on to our main story here. And this one is out of Vanity Fair. Let me just share the tab. And I will go ahead and close that window and I will share this article. And here we go. Sharing the article in the chat so you all know which is the next one we're talking about. And let me get rid of this bot. Oh gosh, I am so tired of these Russian bots. YouTube, get rid of them. This is ridiculous. How many times this particular one has shown up. Get rid of these bots. I'm tired of seeing them in my live streams. I know other YouTubers are tired of seeing them in yours. In theirs, I should say. This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. There we go. Patriot, you still there, brother? All right. Let me check something before I read our final article here, just to be sure. All right. Okay, so Patriots muted right now, but I'm going to go ahead and read our final article of the night. Let me just share it on screen. And it's from Vanity Fair, and it says Ivan Reitman, Ghostbusters director, has died. And we unfortunately found out this news on Sunday that Ivan Reitman passed away in his sleep. And it says the funny force behind Animal House, Space Jam, and Meatballs died peacefully in his sleep at home in Montecito. Okay. I, this is ridiculous. Come on. Excuse me, folks, as I deal with the bots. More and more bots. This is ridiculous. And putting them in a timeout doesn't do squat. So, this article goes on to say Ivan Reitman, the prolific filmmaker who directed or produced many classic comedies of the late 20th century, including Ghostbusters, Space Jam, and Animal House, has died at age 75. Per the Associated Press, he died peacefully in his sleep on Saturday night at his home in Montecito, California. Born in Com- Komarov, Czechoslovakia in 1946. Reitman was 4 years old when his family immigrated to Canada as refugees, with his parents having survived the Holocaust. Yeah, it is insane, Whoopa. It's been happening all night, and it seems to get worse and worse every stream with these bots showing up. It says Reitman's first producing job was at television station City TV in Toronto, where he would meet his future collaborator and longtime friend Dan Aykroyd. His big break came in 1978 when he produced the college fraternity satire National Lampoon's Animal House, starring John Belushi. The next year, he directed Meatballs, which gave Bill Murray his first starring role and launched his career. Yes, and Meatballs is very good. And there's Left Face again. All right. This is bullshit. I'm coming out and saying it. This is bullshit. This is absolute bullshit. Absolute bullshit, folks. All right. I know that's not going to be the last of them. So, any mods who are still in the chat, if I don't catch it, please remove the bot immediately. As a matter of fact, you know what? Good. Is a wrench. Allen's a wrench. So, let's be vigilant and make sure that these damn bots don't interfere anymore because I'm tired of it. I'm coming out and saying it. And anyways, this article goes on to say Reitman's greatest success came in 1984 when he directed and produced Ghostbusters, an irreverent comedy with an unforgettable theme song, Ghostbusters, which starred Murray, Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, Ernie Hudson, Rick Moranis, and Sigourney Weaver, grossed nearly 300 million worldwide, earned 2 Oscar nominations for Best Original Song and Best Visual Effects, and launched a franchise that would last decades. In 2016, Paul Feig directed a female-led Ghostbusters remake starring Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, Reitman's son. The Oscar nominated director Jason Reitman breathed new life into the franchise once again with his film Ghostbusters Afterlife, which hit theaters in 2021. Yeah, Nightbot is seeming to get this one, but still be on your due diligence to, help me get rid of it because this has been frustrating. And I thought last week was bad, but this Wednesday seems to be even worse than last week. And I didn't have many bots pop up in Saturday's Pop Talk talking about G1 Transformers. Yes, Alan Copeland, you are here. And Whoopa says, not sure reporting or putting in timeout is really doing anything, though. No, it's not. It's not doing squat. It's not doing anything by reporting them. It's not doing anything by putting them in timeout. I mean, I'm reporting them and noting that it's pornography, which it is, that they're trying to send the link to. And YouTube isn't doing anything about these accounts. They need to stop these accounts. I'm tired of it. Whoopa's probably tired of it. I know the Star Wars guys has had these same bots pop up in their streams. I know they're tired of it. We're all tired of it. YouTube, do something about it. And thank you, Paul, for stopping by and dropping a like. I really appreciate it, brother. And I can't wait for you guys to see the 3 videos that we recorded when they're released. They're fun. That's all I'm gonna say. They're fun. And the only other thing I'm gonna say to the effect of those videos is what you gotta do when the Star Wars guys and Pacific 414 drop these videos on you. Urgh. So let me go ahead and continue with this. It says, all right. Reitman's son, the Oscar nominated director Jason Reitman, breathed new life into the franchise once again with his film Ghostbusters Afterlife, which hit theaters in 2021. And it has a quote here. It says, I had the honor of working so closely with Iman, and it was always such a learning experience. Feig told The Hollywood Reporter after learning of Reitman's death. He directed some of my favorite comedies of all time. All of us in comedy owe him so very much. After the success of Ghostbusters, Reitman continued directing and producing beloved comedies until the end of his life. His directing credits include Twins, Kindergarten Cop, and Junior, all starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, as well as Dave, No Strings Attached, and most recently 2014's Draft Day starring Kevin Costner. He produced Beethoven, Old School, Euro Trip, and his son's Oscar nominated film Up in the Air. Reitman also produced Space Jam, which starred NBA legend Michael Jordan and saw him team up with the Looney Tunes on the court, and its 2021 remake with LeBron James. And the article goes on to say our family is grieving the unexpected loss of a husband, father, and grandfather who taught us to always seek the magic in life. He said children Jason Reitman, Catherine Reitman, Caroline Reitman in a joint statement. We take comfort that his work as a filmmaker brought laughter and happiness to countless others around the world. While we mourn privately, we hope those who knew him through his films will remember him always. So, you know, losing someone like Ivan Reitman, it's a tough loss, especially when you see the movies that he was attached to, whether it was as a director or producer, the talent that he was attached to while doing those movies. And a lot of those movies are great movies. Ghostbusters aside, Kindergarten Cop is a funny movie. And if you haven't seen it, go ahead and see it because it's very funny. And of course, I like the first Space Jam with Michael Jordan. Bill Murray was in it as well, and it's just another great classic. But there will never be another Ivan Reitman. He came from a time where you had movies that came out, and some movies were bust, some movies were hits. That's how the '80s were. There were as many hits as there were busts. I mean, some might even say there were more busts than hits, Mike, and you're probably right about that. So, yeah, it's sad to lose someone like Ivan Reitman, but we do have his movies to look back on and rewatch over and over again, like we have been for many of years, like we will continue to do for many of years. And Patriot, are you still here, brother? And because I'm also checking Discord and I don't see a message in Discord and there's nothing in the private chat. So let me send a message to him real quick and make sure everything's okay before I wrap this up. But I do want to thank everybody for stopping by, except for the bots. I'm tired of the bots. I really am. It's gotten old. Whether it's my stream or it's someone else's stream, it's just gotten very old. But I do want to take the time to go ahead and thank everybody who stopped by. I want to thank Alan Copeland. Thank you for stopping by. Really appreciate it. Paul of the Star Wars guys, thank you, brother. Enjoyed recording those 3 videos today with you. Can't wait to do more. I also want to thank Whoopa Troopa for stopping by. Thank you, Whoopa. Happy Whoopa Wednesday. I also want to take the time to thank the Padawannabe. Padawannabe, we got 1 episode left of Peacemaker. I'm interested to know what's going to happen in the season finale. And I also want to thank the Nerdporial Lifeform. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you stopping by and leaving a like. It's always appreciated. And keep going. DJ Ronnie G, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Thank you for stopping by. And of course, I want to thank Spock from Spock's Friday Nights. Thank you, brother. And of course, I don't know if you're still here, brother. I want to thank the Smoking Patriot. Thank you, brother. Really appreciate it. And I want to take the time to thank each and every one of you for stopping by one more time. Like I've said during this whole live stream, all the links to the articles I've read and even the trailers are down in the description below. But there's really nothing more to say than if you liked what you saw here, subscribe to the PACIFIC414 YouTube channel, give this video a like, give it a dislike, Leave a comment down in the comment section below. Watch it again on the replay and join the Discord, as a matter of fact, if you haven't already. So let me put that in there. Maybe it's gonna work. Maybe it's not. I'm still working the kinks out as far as that part of Nightbot is concerned. So we'll see if it pops up here. If it doesn't, I will try it one more time. Like I said, still trying to get the kinks out. Okay. All right, there it goes. And also, if you have a Twitter account, you can follow me on Twitter as well. So just give that a second to pop up. And you can follow me on Twitter. And of course, I also want to include the link to the Smoking Patriots. So give me 1 second to put his link into the chat once I copy and paste it. So in 1 second, you will have the link to the Smoking Patriot. If you're not subscribed to his channel yet, do yourself a good favor and subscribe to his channel. He doesn't have any new videos up there yet, but once he has things to where he can start live streaming again, he will definitely be producing brand new content. As he has said in previous installments of Pop Talk when he's been my guest, and I really appreciate you being my guest, brother. Thank you very much. So until next time, this has been Mike for PACIFIC414 Pop Talk. Thank you all so very much for watching. Have a good night, and as always, take care.